I didn't know. I knew there was a vendor. I didn't know. Okay.
Everybody ready? Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this evening's meeting to order for Tuesday, November 18th, Chambersburg Area School District Board of Directors, our regular meeting. If you would, please rise. Rise, join me for Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Prior to this evening's meeting, and also at the conclusion of last month's meeting, the board met in executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and legal matters, the trifecta again, if you will. Item 2.03, motion and second to approve our agenda for this evening, please.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gogler, second by Ms. Harbaugh, right? Questions, amendments, revisions, discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh,
I do have
I'm sorry.
one
Yes,
question.
sir.
We often allow for public comment before we vote, and somehow we end up with 6 after 5. Is there a, I mean,
That was a mistake on our part because it's only one meeting this month.
yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, is there a good way to just to switch the order of those two?
Yeah, we make a motion.
We just make an amendment to
amend, we amend the agenda now, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll
Good
make
point.
that motion, that we amend the agenda to go to point 6 before everything in the consent agenda on 5.
Okay,
So
we have a motion to amend the agenda. We need a second to that, please.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Raber, second by Mrs. Gauss, correct? To amend the motion, 5 becomes 6, 6 becomes 5. Discussions on the motion to amend this evening's agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved. Now we have to vote to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hayduck, second by Mr. McKee. Any other questions or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. Item 3.01, President's Report. So tonight, you'll see, we will have on our investment by the community, Schools of Distinction by 2030, we'll have presentations tonight on the bricks and mortar component. And then one of our next upcoming presentations, there'll be another one, probably the big 2, I call them, bricks and mortars, and then the finance component. And that'll be coming up here in January meeting.
Yep.
We'll have another presentation on the financing component. So, as promised, I mentioned that at every meeting, the Schools of Distinction by 2030. And again, I don't do it to, it's not fear-mongering as some people have accused me of. It's simply information and transparency. Other items for tonight, this is, well, speaking of fear-mongering, I was, we don't comment, the board members, and especially me or the superintendent, in public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to have a debate with the public. But now that public comment is over and it's president's report, I just want to, I'm sure Chris is going to mention about the budget. We now have a budget. Chris has mentioned that in his reports since it's been going on. But there was a comment previously where furlough was referenced in a public comment. And I was sitting here thinking, where in the devil did that ever come from? And I don't know if anyone else caught on to it or if anyone listening on the web or wherever heard that, but I'd just like to speak on behalf of the board, the administration, and myself. We never had any conversations about furlough in any capacity. So that's just something I want to mention and throw out. We have a very good cash position. It affected us financially, as was reported, with some interest. We've lost some interest, but that was something that we've never discussed. So I don't know how it came up here, but it was something that was never on our radar anywhere. Just want to clear the waters on that. My other comment tonight, I have to pull up my phone on this one because I don't want to miss it. But this is National Education Week. And I just want to, what I like about National Education Week is it isn't necessarily one group. And I did a little bit of research, which is why I had to pull up my phone. The history of this is it was 1921 when this started. But the part that I really liked about this that I learned today, observed in all communities annually for the purpose of informing the public of the accomplishments and needs of the public schools and to secure the cooperation and support of the public in meeting those needs. And I just thought that was so fitting, not because it is National Education Week, but I emphasized public schools again, and we've had that discussion a little bit. And, the public support and cooperation, which this investment in schools of distinction by 2030. So the other part I like about National Education Week, okay, yes, it encompasses everything. It encompasses our facilities. It encompasses all of our staff, whether you're a principal, administrator, a support, a teacher. It's everybody involved in the education situation. Board members as well, and all the other people that work behind the scenes. So that's a lengthy shout out this week, but I really like that, and I'm glad I Googled it this weekend to learn more myself. My last item for tonight, just want to, the elections are over, and I was asked actually, prior to the election, like, why haven't you mentioned election in your public comment? Well, I had thought about it prior to the election, but I thought, I'd just rather wait till after the election to do it. That's what we did. But anyway, I'd like to thank everyone, who voted. I'd like to thank everyone who ran for a position, and whether that was in the primary or, in our last general election. And I'd like to thank Mr. Piper for willing to serve, and he will be joining this board in our reorg meeting on December 2nd when we do our reorganization. On a personal note, I also was on the ballot this year, and I will be beginning in December, Lord willing, I will be beginning my 4th term. And I've mentioned this before, and I thought about this also over the weekend, that I don't know if this is a good sign or a bad sign, but I have never had an opponent. Now, I don't know if that means I'm doing an okay job or if I'm just, the crazy one who wants to keep doing this. I'm not sure what it means, but, we'll let other people decide which one that is. But Mr. Piper, congratulations. Welcome to the board unofficially. In a month, we can do it officially. And to all the other board members who have been reelected, and again, all the voters and all the candidates, whether it was in the primary election or this recent general election. So with that, I'm going to segue into item 3.03 on the agenda. When we have a board member coming on, which is a new and exciting and great thing, but there's also a board member who's going to be going off the board. And it's Mr. Lance Walker has served for 5 years. And I don't know, Lance, if it was COVID or what, but by golly, it seems like it's been longer than 5 years. I don't know what you think, but I thought, well, Lance has been on here longer than 5 years. I said, no, it's only been 5 years. But so with that, we have a little item here for you to thank you for your service. And
Grab me a picture of that real quick. Hold on.
oh, you want a picture of this?
Yeah, of course.
You gotta take it out or what? And with that, I'm gonna turn the microphone over to you if you wanna have any comments or parting words.
Well, I want to say thank you. Thanks for the gift. I want to thank everybody. First, my wife for for giving me the time and space. She knows my heart towards the volunteering and trying to give back to the community and doing whatever I can to make a positive impact. So she puts up with a lot. So I want to thank her for affording me the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I also want to thank the original board members, and I think Mr. Norcross was one of the only ones left, last man standing. When I was appointed the first go round, that you all had the confidence in me to serve for the first year that I served, and also I want to thank the public and everyone else who voted me in for the second 4 years that I served. Thank you for your confidence and for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I also want to say that actually I had one of my customers came in today and was saying how he said it jokingly. He said it's a thankless job, and then he went on to say, because he served on several boards and some spaces, and we both just agreed. I said, it's not been thankless for as many times as you hear people say, oh, it's a thankless job, it's a thankless job. I beg to differ. I've had, I don't know how many thank yous. I've had, I don't know how many people. And literally in the middle of, I was getting ice cream at a specific place, and a woman came up to me and she said, I didn't care for the way you voted, and she jumped on me, and I gave her the space, and then she toned down. And we had a little discussion, and then when she got done, she said, but in all honesty, I want to say thank you that you rolled your sleeves up, you threw your hat in the ring, and that you're serving. And so it's not a thankless job. And I want to thank all of the other board members that have served alongside me. Some of y'all may not know some of the things that they do in the community, but a lot of them are very active in the community in helping make this a better space and a better place. And so to that, I want to say thank you all. I think we none of us got here by ourselves. We're standing on someone else's shoulders. And if I recall, when I was the very first time I was at one of these microphones at my first meeting, if you recall, I came from a place of love because we were in the middle of the pandemic. We were in the middle of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of turmoil, and I just was mentioning, we need to get back to loving on one another. And I'm Lance Walker, and I approve that message, and it stands today. I think we're in some times, and I think that we need to keep our humanity first and foremost to the forefront, even in the midst of disagreement, so we can disagree in a way that's agreeable. So with that being said, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Norcross. The state budget, yes, thank you to the state. We have a budget. Very happy we do have one. Specifically, there are 2 items I want to point out in the budget. The adequacy gap money has been life-changing for Chambersburg. We wouldn't even be considering the aggressive schools of distinction approach without the adequacy money. I mean, we're at $13 million in new money from the state to really get schools who were less wealthy to catch up to those that are wealthy. And this is really making a difference. I don't want to underscore the importance of that adequacy money. And again, we wouldn't be here without that. The second is for the beginning of, we hope to be a lot more cyber school reform. There was some cyber school reform that made it into this budget, and we're very pleased with that. So thank you to all those who crafted the bills and passed the bills to get those to the finish line. While everybody's given thanks, I do want to thank the board for those who reran and the new member coming on, and thank the community for continuing this journey with us for One Trojan Community and the Schools of Distinction. It's been a joy so far to get started, but the real work is ahead of us, as you can see tonight in the presentations. So after the thanks are over, we have long presentations tonight, so thank you for sticking around for those. The last item, I don't want to end on a necessarily a sad note, but weather delays are coming and cancellations. So we will do our best to call the night before to make those decisions. I can't promise that. Sometimes the last minute ones in the morning are the way to go when weather is unpredictable. But be on the lookout for your weather delays and cancellation messages that will come from me. That ends my report.
Questions for Mr. Baker? I'll just make one comment. I'll hitchhike on that, and I've often made this comment. And, you know, being an armchair quarterback when it comes to weather is something that a lot of folks like to do. And I always stress when it comes to the decision that Chris has to make and other superintendents in this is it's not only getting students and staff here, we have to also get them home. So you're not just thinking about the morning weather, you're also thinking about the end of the day weather. So it's, in my business, we live and die by the weather also, and it is, I guess it's why I have gray hair. Item 4.01, LIU presentation. Dr. Marchese.
There we go. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Marchese. I'm the executive director at Lincoln IU 12. I started at the intermediate unit in January, so I've been with the intermediate unit for almost a year now. And as part of my onboarding activities the last several months, obviously meeting with all the superintendents and getting into the different communities that we support, one of the things that I think it was important for us to do as an intermediate unit was to kind of reintroduce the intermediate unit back to our school district. So that's what the purpose of tonight, me coming to your board meeting this evening, is just to kind of reintroduce Lincoln IU 12 back to Chambersburg so that you can kind of see how you're leveraging the IU support, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about our organization. Just a little bit about me. So this is year 31 for me in education. I was superintendent of the Avongrove School District, which is located in Chester County, PA, for 11 years. I was in that role for 11 years, so the weather phone calls that we made, I certainly can attest to how stressful that event can be. Prior to serving as superintendent, I was assistant superintendent in the Wissahickon School District, which is in Montgomery County, PA. Prior to that, I was a middle school principal in Garnet Valley and in Rose Tree Media School Districts. Both of those districts are in Delaware County. I was an assistant high school principal and assistant middle school principal, both in Rose Tree and in Wissahickon. And a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was a science teacher in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. So my lifelong dream in education was to serve as an intermediate unit executive director. Obviously, all of my experience was in K-12. When the opportunity arose in the spring of 2024, I guess, I jumped all over it, and it's been one of the most rewarding experiences for me professionally to serve school districts in this capacity. So that's a little bit about myself. Other members of our team are Dr. Kendra Trail, who's our Assistant Executive Director, and Kendra provides oversight of our technology services, our educational services, and our student services division. And most recently, Jared Mader, who was our previous Educational Technology Director, has been elevated to a new role at the intermediate unit as Assistant to the Executive Director for Innovative Solutions and Strategic Partnerships. The intermediate unit is a very unique educational agency. There's a lot of our work that looks very similar to what school districts do. We work with center-based programs There's also a side of our work where it looks like a business, and that's where Jared's role plays an important role in terms of what we're going to do as an intermediate unit moving forward. We're not a taxing agency as an intermediate unit, so the health of our organization is really driven on the quality of program services that we provide to our partners in education. So we're in a unique opportunity here within our IU footprint, and we're really excited about our team. So a little bit about Lincoln IU. So intermediate units were created by the General Assembly back in 1971. They were provided to serve as cost-effective management efficient programs for school districts. The funding sources, as I mentioned, we're a non-taxing agency, so our funding sources primarily come from federal and state grants, as well as contracts that we receive at the state level and contracts that we receive on a fee-for-service. We support public school districts, non-public school districts, charter schools, career and technical schools, and our county footprints of York County, Franklin, and Adams County. So I tell everybody our footprint is about the size of the state of Delaware. So we have 25 districts that we support, and we have a very vast footprint and a very diverse footprint within our school communities, but it's an exciting opportunity for us to be able to meet all of our partners' needs within the IU-12 footprint. We service about just under 15,000 school-age students. We have 3,000 preschool-age students that are in our footprint, as well as 500 students that are in our online program, which is called Lincoln Edge. And we also run programs for about 700 students in our adult learning population. As I said, 25 school districts, 30 non-public schools, 3 career technical schools, and 5 charter schools all fall within the IU-12 footprint. As I mentioned earlier, the part of our organization that looks very similar to a school district is our center-based programs. So we operate 3 centers here in Franklin County. We are the educational service provider for students who are educated at the Franklin Learning Center. Our enrollment early in the year was 171 students with 93 staff. We provide specialized supports in the areas of autism, life skills, mental health, emotional support, therapeutic emotional support, dual diagnosis, and multiple disabilities. We also operate a school that's right on the border of Adams and York County, and that's called the Paradise School. And that school has 77 students and 31 staff members, and that's a program that primarily focuses on behavioral supports and dual diagnosis and therapeutic emotional support services. And then just as similar to what we have here in Franklin County, we have a learning center that is a joint membership of 13 of the 14 districts in York County, and that program is about 141 students with 94 staff, serving very similar programs that are housed currently in the Franklin Learning Center. The York Learning Center also has the early intervention programs, such as the Franklin Learning Center, as well as hosts programs for the York Adams Academy and our Lincoln Edge program. So we have a variety of different services and divisions within the intermediate unit that I just wanted to reintroduce you in terms of what we do. So in business services, our director is Brent Kessler, and in business services, we provide support for joint purchasing. We also run the Lincoln Benefit Trust. That's a healthcare trust that has a number of districts that are involved in that. We also have an on-site health and wellness center. That's a function of the business services division. We also operate transportation services for a number of districts within our footprint. And more recently, we have gotten into the arena in terms of providing support for safety and security, not only within our own organization, but within and supporting organizations that are within our footprint. In the area of human resources, our director is Tracy Williams. She manages our HR consortium. We are more recently getting into the superintendent search services as well as other executive level search positions. We also are working with a guest teacher program. We operate our fingerprinting services out of the HR department, and then we also provide counsel and support for HR directors across the footprint. In technology, Ben Smith was recently appointed as the director when Jared Mader moved into his new role. And in technology services, we have our Lincoln Edge and our Cyber Cafe, which is our homegrown program that is the counter solution to cyber charter school options for families. We are also providing support for cybersecurity, AI. These are two new technology areas that are beginning to emerge. We provide a consortium for our Lincoln Learning Network. That's our wide area network. And then we have our PAIMS and ETAC partnerships, which are more consortium priced generated services. In educational services, which is your curriculum area or your teaching and learning, we support districts in their continuous planning and improvements as they may work through various school improvement scenarios, as well as comprehensive writing. We can support districts in curriculum writing, English language support, and we also have services that are available for executive coaching. Our Director of Educational Services is Rebecca Gibney. In communications with me this evening is Julia Liu. She's our Director of Communications. And Julie is a one-woman show in communications, so she does a lot of support to districts in the areas of crisis communication. We can do communications audits for districts if that's something that you're interested in pursuing. We also work with the legislative function in terms of making sure that our district partners are interacting appropriately with the legislative bodies. We can also support districts in writing and editing internal documents and sourcing, as well as brochure and publication print. And last but not least, the biggest division within the intermediate unit is our Student Services Division. This is currently led by Dr. Jennifer Leese. This is where our district-based classrooms, our center-based classrooms, all of our related services, preschool, our transition programs, and our transition programs from employment to independent living are all a function of our student services. So you can see from an organization, we do a lot of different things. Stephanie is one of our representatives, our board representatives. That's our representative from Chambersburg, and our programs are wide and vast, but we stand firm behind the services that we provide and really appreciate the opportunity to partner with the Chambersburg Area School District on a variety of initiatives. The next two slides are essentially just to illustrate how your district is actually utilizing services. These are just a sampling of some of the things that Chambersburg took advantage of at no cost during the 24-25 school year. So I'll just take a second. You can just kind of glance those slides. And then the next slide is in the 24-25 school year, some of the things that you utilized the intermediate unit for that were for fee service programs as you kind of executed your work during the 24-25 school year. Just a quick fact, and when I was superintendent, my board president, her husband was a graduate of the Chambersburg Area School District, so when I came to IU-12, she's like, oh, you're going back to where my husband came from. So just wanted to share that with all of you tonight when I was here visiting all of you. We're really proud of our organization, and again, this is really just a purpose to kind of reintroduce who we are as an organization, because a lot of people know the intermediate unit as a special education provider. And yes, we are a special education provider. That is our biggest book of business, but it's not the only thing that we do as an organization. There's a lot of other things that we do that support our schools in meeting their intended goals. And I just wanted to take the opportunity for a few minutes just to introduce our team and share with you the things that we do at the intermediate unit. And we appreciate all of the partnership and work that we have with the Chambersburg Area School District. Your superintendent, Bigger, has been a phenomenal peer and colleague in terms of kind of providing support to me as I transition into the footprint. So thank you, Chris, for your support. And Stephanie's been a phenomenal board representative to the intermediate unit. And as I said, that was really just the intent of this evening, is just to kind of reintroduce our services and who we are as an organization and a partner in education. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I have one quick question, if I may.
Yes.
I see the York Intermediate Unit has a Pioneer Transition Program, and we have one as well in Franklin County. Are they essentially the same, just one's called Pioneer, one isn't?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions?
Okay. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
4.02, project updates. On my sheet, it says Crabtree Rohrbach on first. Mark, you decide.
I'm going to introduce them. So RLPS will be going first.
we wanted to get them home since they're from Lancaster. So we have Chris Linke, who is the partner, and then Andrew Bladen, who is our lead architect.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for having us. Now we're good. Is it on? Okay. Thank you for having us here tonight. As Dr. Long said, we're here to give you an update on the new middle school project. Last time we were here in July, so we just wanted to talk about the ground we have covered then in terms of site plan and the building plan, and then what are going to be our next steps. So to get started on this project, the schedule is really driven by land development. So we started out hard on getting the background information on the site and getting the engineering work done so we can get the land development process started. We worked through the summer to develop concepts, and we were successful having a sketch plan submittal to the borough in early November, and also had a variance submitted to the borough as of yesterday. So we are on schedule with the schedule that we had predicted from the beginning of the project. While we are developing the site plan, we also developed the concept for the floor plans. We developed the program, we had visioning sessions, so we wanted to make sure the site plan that we were developing had a strong concept behind that as we continue through that design. This slide is just a visual representation of the site options that we considered the whole way through. The last time you saw us in July, we had 5, and we call this the funnel effect. You go down, you eliminate some, you add a couple, you eliminate some. I think Dr. Long presented the 2 options to you in September. At that point, we took a pause and developed those 2 options, measured them against the metrics and the priorities we developed through our process. And I was happy to say that the administrative team selected the option we're going with unanimously. So there wasn't any questions about the direction we were going. This is the existing site that we have to work around, because we're working around, number 1, the existing middle school that is there. The other part I'm going to highlight here is 3, the existing entrances and exits off McKinley and Stauffer. If we could keep them, it helps us stay on schedule and simplifies all of our lives. So that was a lot of what the existing site plan that we're trying to work around. So this is the site plan that we have, and there's 2 strong concepts with the site plan that we work with. 1, make sure that building is sited and functional for the long term. But 2, how do we get through the short-term phasing of that site plan to make that possible? So there's a number of highlights, kind of like what rose to the top of why we had or want with this site plan. A couple things that we will talk about. The yellow is the outline of the proposed building. Where the H is on the lower side, that is where the classroom wings are, and we really wanted them to focus on the park across the street, so we have good views and a nice atmosphere for those classrooms. The other part of that is we have a lot of our community spaces in that J area. So we're able to put the back of the stage, locker rooms, and some other places facing 81, so the noise and views, we weren't really focusing on that. And as the gym, as to the north part of that plan, we were able to line up all of our athletic fields together and have gym and locker access to those fields. Additionally, the entrance faces Stauffer, so we were able to get an easy recognition from Stauffer, the entrance to the building, and we were able to solve both the car, the bus, and the van drop-off, which we wanted all of them to happen on the front of the building and not any of them to happen on the back side of the building. So with this updated plan, you can see the red and blue is basically the car circulation. So we have car drop-off, car pickup. We have an option that we can extend the stacking, because we have over 100 cars that will stack during the drop-off and pickup time. We have the buses coming from on the north side of the site, and they will access off of Stauffer, where the cars will access off of McKinley. And then we have the van drop-off and the visitor parking at the same sandwiched in the middle, and trying to keep all of those separate and aligned and manageable at the same time, because we know how site traffic can just tie up the roads around here, so we're trying to get all the traffic off the roads and stack within your site. I will let Andy now talk about the building.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris alluded to a few moments ago, along with developing this site, we also have been validating the building program, the room list, kind of the recipe of how the spaces that need to be placed in the building, along with your administrators, many of whom are in the room. They've really rolled up their sleeves and made sure that the room list that was proposed as we worked together and as we refined it really reflected your educational vision as a district and provides the spaces that you feel you need today, as well as looking into the future. We're not talking just about general education, classrooms or your common areas of your gymnasiums, your auditorium, but also things such as your STEM spaces, your technology and visual art spaces, as well as special education throughout the facility. And so that has been a large part of that, as Chris has said, to validate the room list as the site's being validated to arrive at the floor plan that we're sharing with you today. And so this is that floor plan. This plan with the different colors reflect different areas within the building, whether they be classrooms or those performing arts or gymnasium spaces. If we click to the next slide here, it kind of gives you that strong delineation. As we developed the concept, it was clear as in many secondary buildings such as yours, the desire to keep the academic areas, give you the ability to split off the building during after hours, so for after hours activities can be performed without providing access to all of your classroom and general education spaces. So that's what you see here on the left, those public spaces, as Chris has said, oriented towards the athletic fields and the front entries, that parent drop-off and bus drop-off shown out there with the arrows in blue in front. The darker orange spaces are the athletic spaces, the larger spaces being gymnasiums, multi-purpose rooms, as well as smaller team rooms there to the north. And also the lighter orange areas then being the performing art spaces aligned with that. Kind of as we get to the center part of the plan, the red dashed line, top to bottom we have cafeteria, learning commons, as well as administration out front by those drop-offs. And then on the right-hand side of the plan, we really see those academic areas taking shape. As well as defining the room list, I know your administration also has been testing out scheduling to make sure that this building and its organization can work with your intended student body of 7th and 8th graders. And so that's how the academic spaces have really taken shape with a pod type arrangement to split your grade levels 7 and 8 into smaller learning communities within the academic wing. Those are located in the north and south side of that academic wing with kind of your STEM area in between, the purple areas being technology areas. And as we move up from first floor to second floor, the darker green in the middle are your science labs, which find their homes in the core on the second and third levels. Again, at the second floor here, we see some purple and light blue out there, some technology and visual art spaces there on the second floor, demonstrating the circulation routes, wanting to be able to break down the students' path of travel throughout this building to the core areas to the left, and several routes to kind of divide the whole student body and allow them to flow seamlessly throughout the building. On the north side of this plan, we have 2 of those learning communities with the lighter blue spaces, or I guess the darker blue spaces being special education classrooms intermixed. And on the south side, we see 2 other learning communities, again, with those special education classrooms, really giving you the flexibility to operate either as a 7th and 8th grade stack of communities in 3 levels, or being able to mix things up if you should choose, giving your administrators some operational flexibility as you occupy this building. This is the upper floor, then the third floor, again with some academic spaces indicated here. And this is really just we're about halfway, a third of the way into the schematic floor plan process. We reviewed these plans with your administrators towards the end of last week, and our team in the office has already started making some design moves and some revisions based on their comments, but wanted to share with you a status of where we were at today. Looking forward then, the final slide of the presentation, to keep this succinct. As Chris had indicated, earlier this week, yesterday, we submitted the zoning variance request to the borough. That zoning meeting comes up on December 2nd. And then we have our next design meeting, of course, on December 4th. We have those every 3 weeks with your administrators to keep the process moving forward. And we also have some schematic design, these floor plan reviews with your faculty members, select faculty members within both CAMS North as well as CAMS South, scheduled for December to get some early input as we move through the schematic design and setting us up for more design progress and design development in the springtime. As Chris had indicated, we feel like we're on schedule with the, what we had discussed previously in the rough project outline here with schematic design, design development, and construction documents is delineated. So hopefully this time next year, we're here discussing going out to bid or receiving bids and keeping this project moving forward for you. And with that, I guess open the floor to any questions you may have. And thank you very much for having us this evening.
Board members, questions? I always wait, and then I'll ask my questions.
Stunned them in the sentence.
You both mentioned variances, say a zoning variance. What's our variance for?
Absolutely. So there's two variances that we're seeking. One is, they're both relatively simple, but we feel necessary to keep the design progressing as we have it laid out. First would be a parking variance on the quantity of parking provided. It's a very similar variance to what you sought for your high school here across the parking lots when you did your last project. Just justifying the amount of quantity of parking that we're providing compared to the black and white letter of the zoning
Parking.
code for parking. And then the second one is for a building height variance. The zoning district, your property, the school district's property currently is in, has a 40-foot height limitation. We, of course, have always talked about making efficient use of your site with a three-story classroom wing. And so we're seeking a variance to a 50-foot height limitation that actually aligns with the zoning district to the north of your property where those commercial buildings are. That adjacent district already has a 50-foot height limitation. So we're just asking for some relief from the middle school's current zoning to achieve that same height limitation. Should be relatively straightforward process, but they are variances that do need to be requested.
Okay. Second question, budgeted dollars, are we still on track? Or are we under?
We're still on track for the budgeted dollars.
Okay, darn, I was hoping you were gonna say under, but appreciate your honesty. And then for the site work, which was early on, you see any constraints, obstacles there for your counterparts? I know we've been talking about traffic study out on the north end, but any challenges as far as with the borough?
No, at this point, with us keeping those existing drives and using them, that is the key. We have to do traffic counts to verify, you know, the increase in traffic, but the early indications are it should not be anything significant to our overall process.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
back to Dr. Long.
Thank you, guys. Safe drive home. Crabtree Roball is next. We have Anthony Colstock, the lead architect. We have Sean Dowdy and Nicole Niles, who are also architects working on the project.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. We're going to give you an update on the Green Village campus. We're going to start off with discussing the things that we've been working on since our last update. We're currently in the schematic design phase, and we are very near completion of that phase and to move into the next design phase, which is called design development. We're going to review the 4-6 intermediate school first. After that, we'll look at the K-3 Green Village Elementary School. We'll talk a little bit about the next steps. What are the steps that need to be done to wrap up schematic design and then transition into design development, and we'll have a quick review of the project schedule. So for both projects, this is a checklist, a pretty broad checklist of all the items that we want to make sure that we have addressed during the schematic design phase. Some of these we reviewed with you during our last update. Things like the visioning with the administration and with faculty and with students. What is your planned, what's your projected enrollment, and making sure that we are right-sizing the building for that projected enrollment. We had a lot of discussions about your educational program with your administration and the vision, and verifying that and going through several different rounds. One thing we do have to work on is educational specifications. I'll get that into that during the next steps. A lot of due diligence that we need to do with the site. This will need a PennDOT highway occupancy permit, which is going to drive the overall schedule. That will take about a year. That is underway, and discussions with the state have begun. From the educational program and then from the information that we gather from the site, we can start to organize the buildings and how both of them are situated on the site, and understanding the traffic patterns. And one of the goals of the traffic patterns was to keep the bus traffic separate from the parent traffic. And then from that, we'll develop the floor plans, and we'll go from like a conceptual design. And if you remember, for the intermediate school, we were using a prototype from Dallastown Area School District, which was 3 schools within the school. And then from there, we want to take your educational program and vision and implement it into that design prototype. So this is the current site plan sketch. There's a couple of revisions from the last update that you've received. Those are highlighted in orange. But just to revisit this layout, the bus traffic for both of the schools would be entering in from the driveway on the left, so that the bus would pull in on the north side, could drop off at the intermediate school where those 2 blue arrows are located. We're going to need 30 spaces for buses. Then it would loop back around and continue to the drive on the west side of the campus, and then go all the way down to the south part of the campus, and then loop around to the front of the elementary school where that purple arrow is located. We also have van drop-off for the intermediate school that's also on that bus driveway, again, to try to keep the traffic down and to keep the separation of the parents from the bus traffic. Then you'll see on the driveway on the right-hand side, this is for visitors and for parents. There are some roundabouts that are included in there as a traffic calming device. And the drop-off for the parents occurs between both of the schools in the event that you have a parent that has to drop off a student at both of the buildings. Each of the intermediate academic wings would have their own administrative offices with their own entrances. So we'll create driveways, separate driveways for each academic wing with enough sidewalk and curb for parents to queue for their students to empty out onto the sidewalk and then enter into the building safely. Then there's also a similar driveway for the elementary school, and there is a plaza that separates the driveway for the parent drop-off of the elementary school to the bus drop-off. We had our civil engineers, one of the first things they needed to do for the site design is develop this parking scheme and understand what the municipality's requirements are from a count standpoint. This is driven by the number of classrooms and the assembly spaces. The first pass that they had, making sure that we had adequate parking for parents and faculty in between the 2 buildings, and then also parking to the north side of the intermediate school for evening events and some additional faculty entering into the intermediate school. They actually exceeded the count by a little over 100 spaces, but we want to minimize that. We're not going to provide less than what's required. A lot of times the municipalities, the way that their counts are a little excessive. So we'll make sure that we're providing the right amount. but when we eliminate those 100 spaces or so, we want to be very strategic with that. What are the spaces that the administration feels comfortable from reducing from this current plan? One of the other things, one of the other changes that I'll talk a little bit more about with the floor plan of the intermediate school is the academic wings. The 3 academic wings in the previous update were 2 stories each. And those corridors of those academic wings, they fell a country mile long, especially for elementary school students. So we looked at a concept of going to 3 stories to shorten up the length of the academic wings and to help reduce some of that travel time. And then also for parts of the school to feel like a little bit institutional as well with that long corridor. So this plan that you're seeing now, this shortened those academic wings and allows for more of a entry plaza outside each of the academic wings from when the students step out of the car and enter into the building. One other item that was changed from the last update is we reconfigured some of the assembly spaces. If you recall, this is a similar design concept as the middle school, that this main street lobby that separates the big box assembly spaces from the academic wings, that's the delineation of academic and assembly. This helps with student safety and supervision to keep them within the academic wings. It also helps with evening events, that if you want to shut down the academic wings to limit access during evening events, you can do that, and you keep everybody on that public side of the building. One of the things that we had discussed is students emptying off of the buses and coming into the lobby spaces. And the administration, with a lot of great discussion, we felt the best move was to try to get the students as quickly into the building as we could. And we're introducing now 2 bus entrances instead of 1 entrance, which was presented to you at the previous update. So those are indicated by those 2 red arrows at the top. As architects, we also like what this does to that elevation, the front elevation of the building, to the bus entrance that's on the left-hand side. That entrance is next to the media center. And then the entrance on the right-hand side, that is adjacent to the cafeteria. So there's some very nice design opportunities to give the front of this building, which is facing the main drive, a very nice facade, really give it a presence to the community. And in between those 2 bus entrances is where we're going to locate some secondary administrative spaces for student supervision as they're entering into the building. The other assembly spaces, you'll see the gym and the auxiliary gymnasiums on the left-hand side. There is a multi-purpose, large black box assembly space that's located within the center. And then adjacent to that, the music department. There's a nice adjacency of the music department to the stage that is going to serve that assembly space. And then there is that delineation of the assembly to the academic wings. And then when you enter into the academic wing houses, these are color-coded. The general classrooms are in blue, and the special education classrooms are noted in green. So when you enter into the building from the assembly side, you're actually entering into the 2nd floor of the academic wing. So this will help cut down on travel time for students. So when students enter into the academic wings, they're entering into the lower floor. So this way, when the students are coming in from the buses, they don't have to travel 3 stories. They're either going 1 floor up or they're going 1 floor down. So we think that can kind of cut down on some of the travel time. During our last update, one of the tasks that the administration was going through was doing a test fit for the schedule and understanding maybe if there is any impact or revisions that they felt was needed to the educational program. And one of the things that they wanted to implement, again, we are trying to create 3 schools within a school, but we're also trying to create academic communities to make this large school feel smaller. So there is a teaming concept that they wanted in 4th and 5th grade. They want to cluster 3 general classrooms per team. And then in the 6th grade, there would be 4 classrooms, general classrooms per team. So right now, the 2 classrooms on the left and the middle, those would be the 4-5 grade levels. And then the one on the right-hand side, this would be the 6th grade wing. And this is the one that has the 4 classrooms per team.
That's upper level.
For all levels. So those classrooms, they stack. Yep. So if I go back to this plan, you'll see that on the 6th grade, on the wing on the right-hand side has 4 classrooms per team. Yep. Then with Green Village Elementary School, similar concept for the building organization. This sketch on the lower part of the sheet, that is the 1st floor. There is a main street that separates the assembly spaces from the academic spaces. One of the things that we discussed as a vision and a concept to create a feeling of community within this building is locating the 5 specials off of that main street, but also having potential for some academic entrance into them as well. So you'll have on the north part, the gymnasium, and you'll see next to the main entrance, that's where the administration, so that's eyes on the street for when students are being dropped off by parents, by the bus. There's also some supervision or a visual connection that they have to the intermediate school, and then kind of going from the administration to the gym. Then you have your cafeteria and the service spaces in the back. But those specials, we have, in addition to the physical education component of the school, there's also the art and the music and the library, and there is also a STEAM component on the 2nd floor. And from the last iteration, one of the big moves that we made was relocating the library in between the academic wings, and we saw this as a way to highlight that program and those activities and make it the heart of the building and sort of add to the student experience because of all the activity within the media center. And there is also a relationship between the library and the STEAM the STEAM department, the STEAM curriculum. So the STEAM can be accessed off of the 2nd floor, but it can also be accessed from within the library. And then this is the floor plan, color-coded as well. Blue is the general classrooms, green is the special education. With the educational program review that we're doing currently with the administration to wrap up schematic design, we did have one last meeting with the special education director, received some more input from her and some direction on some adjacencies that she would like to see in an added classroom. So we're currently going through those revisions, and we feel that would wrap up the schematic design once we have her approval and the administration's approval on those layouts. So they would just impact the academic wings. So these next images, these are always exciting to look at. These are conceptual design renderings of the Main Street lobby, so that when you're This is sort of when you walk into the school. So on the left-hand side where you see that little guy walking down that hallway, he's walking into the kindergarten wing. And then the back of the school, the back entrance of the lobby is what you see in the background. On the right-hand side, those are those assembly spaces, the gymnasium, the cafeteria, also the admin. To the left, underneath that bridge, that is the entrance to the library. And then you can see the stairs that go to the second floor of each of the academic wings. So we have connectivity on the second floor for students and for faculty to move back and forth, that they wouldn't have to go down to the first floor, walk over to the next academic wing, and then walk back up. And then you'll see that mast that's coming out into the lobby space. This is an extension of the STEAM classroom. Within that space, this is more of an opportunity to group small students together. Some of the discussions that we've had with the administration is the way that their counselors work is the students aren't going to the counselors' offices. The counselors are going to the students and pulling them out of the classes. So one of the things that we want to try to provide within the school are some of those small spaces for two people that they can sit and talk and have some privacy, and that they wouldn't need an office or a classroom. And you kind of see we're showing some loose furniture, some built-in benches, and then that space outside of the STEAM classroom. Those types of activities could take place there without disrupting the students in that classroom. And then this is a view within the library, and you'll see that massing. Again, this is the STEAM classroom that looks down onto the library space. We just started doing some early layouts of the casework. We got a rough volume count from the administration. We just wanted to do a test fit to make sure that with the volume count, that with the space that we were providing, the square footage, that it was adequate enough to store all the books that you plan to put in this space. The other thing that we'll start to do is to develop zones within the library. Again, we really want this to be the heart of the school. It has that access to the main street. It also has access to kind of what we're calling like a courtyard space in between the academic wings. We'll have further discussions with the administration on how we want to design that outdoor space. But other activities for opportunities for reading time with a teacher and a class of students, or soft seating for individuals or small groups. Also locating where the circulation desk is going to be located. Right now, the way that STEAM classroom is kind of cantilevered into the library, it starts to create a nice area to put the circulation desk, so the librarian would have supervision of all of the students within the space. So next steps to finalize schematic design. For the 4-6 intermediate school, we want to develop educational specifications. The educational specifications are conceptual layouts of classrooms, space planning to include casework, furniture, technology. We had a meeting with some faculty earlier in the year, and then from the input that they give us, some of the ideas that they give us, we'll start to develop these concepts, and then it will help serve as a blueprint for when we meet with faculty later on in the design to design these specific spaces within each of these schools. We're also currently working on an administrative layout. Last meeting that we had with the administration got some good feedback on the adjacencies and the layout. So we're going to make a revision to that and then review it with them at our next meeting. I mentioned before Green Village. We're going to rework some of the special education adjacencies with that direction from your director. And we're also ready to start interior design meetings with faculty. So these meetings, what we'll do is they'll take like a day or two. We'll probably end up having 2 to 3 rounds throughout the design process, but we would like to start the first round prior to Christmas vacation, where we'll meet with a group of each department for about 45 minutes or so. We'll come with some ideas, but a lot of it is us just listening, doing some active listening on what their idea of what their classroom space should look like. And then our interior designers will take that and make those revisions and make sure that's included in the bid documents. We also want to get our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers involved in the process and meet with Matt and develop a project design criteria on the building systems and what are the systems and manufacturers that he prefers, what are the manufacturers that he doesn't prefer, what's standard within the district. So those will be coming up. And then civil engineering, they're going to continue some of the due diligence and then also the sketch plan submission to the municipality, continue discussions with PennDOT. One of the things that we're going to be looking at pretty soon is a geotechnical report to look at infiltration rates within on the site and the best locations for stormwater management. And we also have to continue our phase 1 environmental assessment. There was, Letterkenny had reported that they had, years ago, they had some spillage on their site. We don't think that this is an issue with your site, but we just want to go through the due diligence and look through their documentation and make sure that all the information that we can gather about this existing site, that we understand what's included. When we can wrap up schematic design, what we'll do is we'll start to put a construction cost estimate together. We'll review that with the administration to help you establish a budget to plan for these projects. So that was a lot. This is, as of now, the project schedule is still what we had showed you at the last update with the different phases for design development, construction documents, and the Act 34 hearing. And we're looking to go out to bid in late fall of 2026. So any questions?
Yes, the elementary school. Can you show me where the playground is going to be? I see flex fields.
Yep.
But I don't.
Yeah. So the playground, this isn't working, but if you don't mind me coming up here.
That's fine.
So the playgrounds are going to be located in this triangular space, and it's very faint, but you can see a fence right here that will connect from this corner of the building to that corner of the building. And one thing that we're also showing here, those boxes are, we're planning that if you ever had to put an addition onto this school, that could be that future expansion. So those are for 8 classrooms that you could potentially build on here. But that triangular area is where the playground for the for the elementary school would be located. It's just not shaded in like it is for the intermediate school in between the academic wings.
Is there going to be an emphasis on equipment or a more natural playground?
It's a good question. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And I think with any school project, when it comes to playground equipment, the most important discussion is whose budget is it included in? Is it within this budget or is it the PTO budget? And we haven't had those discussions yet with the administrations, but those will be things that we discuss.
I'm not as interested in the budget for, I'm just interested in seeing more natural playground versus emphasis on equipment, not because of budget, but because of just the need for activity rather than, I've just read a lot about natural playgrounds where there's things that are movable, that are things that are not expensive, but are fun for kids versus X number of swings and 3 times as many kids as what you can possibly have swings for, or other equipment types of things.
And maybe some of that will help with your insurance rates too.
Well, I've seen, for instance, just having like small bales of straw hay that they move around, they play
Sure.
on, they climb on, they build with. There's so many ideas that, to me, are more promoting of social interaction and have benefits that, I mean, I can remember at Memorial Park across from where the intermediate school is gonna be, you know, the big rocks, just climbing on rocks was such a fun thing for my grandchildren compared to the swings and the sliding boards and.
Sure. Yeah, so for schematic design, really what we want to try to, as far as the play areas, what we want to develop is, it's really the location and making sure that it's adequately sized.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
the-
sure the size is
and then
adequate,
we-
is my concern.
And then when we move into
How big
the,
is that triangle? Just give them a rough.
Could you fit a soccer field and a basketball field in there?
no, you could not. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so you see that flex field is probably roughly the size of a soccer, a little bit smaller than a soccer field. And you can't quite fit that in that triangular space.
So then the triangle is on the opposite side of the flex field. I kind of wish they were together so that you could have an open field for kids to run and play football.
Yeah, so that flex field that's located there, that adjacency was to get it next to the gymnasium, so that students could, yep, so it's more of like a PE space.
Could you move the playground to the other side of the trees there?
You could.
I mean, there's a lot more space there.
You could. We'd have to look at the access to it. You know, right now, the goal, the vision for the location of the playground was that it was next to the academic wings, next to the classroom, so that they
Sure.
could easy empty out. But, you know, there's also the possibility that you could have a lunch dedicated playground that's close to the cafeteria, that's right behind those trees next to the flex field. That's a possibility.
That large white area beside the flex field, what's there? Yeah.
Yeah, right now it's nothing. I mean, eventually it could be stormwater depending on where the best infiltration rates. You'll see some of the, right now, some of the areas that they were proposing for stormwater basins are outlined in that faint dashed line. There's over by the bus drop-off for the intermediate, also by the bus drop-off for the elementary school, to the north of that north roundabout. But we still have to do the geotech report to figure out which parts of the site have the best infiltration rates or which ones don't have good infiltration rates, and then determine where that's gonna go. But right now, that space is unassigned, so there is that possibility that we could locate a playground in that area.
The classrooms that you had mentioned, possibly adding on, you said 8 classrooms. Would that be 2 stories? I'm
Yes,
assuming?
yeah.
I like the roundabouts. Thank you.
They are becoming more and more common, that is for sure. And I think as they become more common, people know how to drive through them.
Well, that's part of what I'm excited about. The whole community will learn. If you've been to our downtown, it looks like a roundabout, but it's not, and it's confusing for many visitors.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions?
How many parent drop-offs do you anticipate being able to handle at the various parent drop-off areas?
So we did have our civil engineer lay out how many cars could queue along the sidewalks of, for the entrances into the intermediate school. And were they like 80 each, I think? Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a big site, and so scale is a little hard to.
Yeah, so there was probably like over 80 cars for each of the academic wings. So probably somewhere between 80 to 100, so it could be up to 300 just for the intermediate school could park along the sidewalk. Yeah.
We hope more people get on a bus.
Yes, yeah,
That's our hope.
right,
Less cars, more bus rides.
yeah. And during the morning, it's not an issue because everybody's coming in at staggered times. It's at pickup where that congestion occurs. So, yeah, we want to make sure that there's enough curb space for parents just to kind of pull along the sidewalk when they move up to the school. Kids are dismissed, and then we're keeping traffic off of the main roads. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Item 4.03, grades 9 to 12 programming. Mr. Ocker.
Well, good evening, and thank you for providing me this opportunity to share with you some very exciting news about secondary planning in regards to creating career academies and career pathways. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brad Ocker, and I'm the Director of Career and Community Partnerships here at Chambersburg School District. A little bit about myself before I get too involved in the information. I started out in Chambersburg in 1998 as an elementary teacher at Grandview Elementary. So it's ironic that we were talking about that this evening. I taught 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, and I actually looped those years. And I also was at that building, I was also their head teacher. Very soon, I became an elementary principal at Fannett Meadow School District, which is a Franklin County School District as well. I spent 2 years in the elementary world, and then I became their secondary principal for 2 years as well. In about 2007, I returned back to Chambersburg, and I was at the Chambersburg High School as an assistant principal, which then transitioned myself into an associate principal, and then for the last 8 years, I was the high school principal. So throughout that time, I've gained a lot of knowledge about secondary, but I also have K-12 experience, which is why I shared that with you this evening. Mr. Bigger came back to Chambersburg, which we are very happy. And when he returned, many of you know that he did a landscape analysis of the district. And from that landscape analysis in regards to careers here at Chambersburg, he very quickly realized that we had a situation occurring each and every year where there were 200 students, either 100 from CMS or 100 from the career tech side, that weren't getting enrolled at either one of those schools. And we found students to actually not be engaged in their schooling. A lot of student discipline, as well as limited academic achievement within that group of students. So from there, my position was created to support the reasoning behind why we need to do a better job at providing career exploration, as well as the possibility of career academies in Chambersburg Area School District. Wasn't long after that we actually took 3 different trips to Ignite, which is in Kentucky, Boone County. We took administrators with us. We took some teaching staff. And our goal, of course, in visiting there was to realize what they had going on, so that way we could bring some of their ideas and concepts back to Chambersburg and actually mimic some of the things that they have going on there. So we talk a little bit more about the why, not why my position was created, but the why behind what we're planning to do. If you don't already know, Franklin County is one of the fastest growing counties in Pennsylvania, and it's mainly due to its location, 81. This places a very heavy demand on local labor markets for skilled talent and high growth occupations. Another good reason as to the why is the baby boomers. As I meet with a lot of individuals within our community, 2 baby boomers are retiring, but no one is replacing them. And that's a very big concern. Something else that forces the why is Chapter 339, which goes along with Act 158. Students not only have to graduate by attaining the credits desired for graduation, but also they have to complete graduation pathways in order to receive their diploma. So the bottom line is this: Chambersburg Area School District, just like other public education, is the place that occurs first. Local businesses will face increasing labor shortages, which will hinder economic growth here in PA if we don't do something. So when I took over this role as Director of Career and Community Partnerships, I too did my own landscape analysis K-12. Like I shared earlier with you, I had a lot of experience at the secondary level here in Chambersburg, but I didn't know much about the elementary and the middle schools because of not just spending a lot of time there. So I actually communicated with those building administration so that they could share some information with their building staff, and I asked them 3 questions. What activities do they currently use in regards to career pathways and career exploration? What activities do they wish they had to use? And what resources do they currently or do they wish they had as well? And it was interesting, the feedback that I received. Number 1, there was limited consistency. As shared this evening, there's 250 square miles here. There's a lot of elementary schools and there's 2 middle schools. Limited consistency across the board. They also mentioned they wish they had more time to plan events because we do a lot within our schools, and careers just isn't one of those things that we lend a lot of time to. They also shared that they wish they had more community partners and they understood more about their community and what's available. And ultimately, they just wanted an increased understanding of what career really means at all levels K-12. In learning all this information, it was reassuring to me because this summer, as I started in July 1 in this role, I had heard about a program called Zello that we have within our district. We've had it for about 3 years. But as a building principal, I myself did not take the time to truly understand what this program was about. But I learned very quickly that it's a resource that can very easily support the initiatives and plans that we have moving forward. Also during this time, I made several community connections. Just to mention, 35 plus business connections without a doubt. And I'm learning myself that we as educators, we truly lead a sheltered career life. We come to school, we see what's within our 4 walls, we go home tired, and then we come back and do the same thing over and over again. I was shocked, and I continue to be shocked, learning all the different things that we have going on within our career, our community in regards to career and so forth. This next slide shares with you also some very important strategic partnerships that I've also created in this journey since July. The Franklin County Area Development Corporation, which is led by Mike Ross. Many of you know him. He's been a very valuable asset. The Chambersburg Chamber of Commerce, which I'm very excited to attend tomorrow. I'm going to be inducted into their board starting January, so that's exciting news. Cumberland Valley Business Alliance is also part of the chamber, but it fuses together Greencastle and Chambersburg, and they do a lot of great events, especially mixers to get to know people in our community and the businesses that are surrounding us. And then Healthy Communities Partnership. It's an organization that really supports our schools K-12, and I didn't realize all the different partners that they had to support our students socially and emotionally. Some post-secondary institutions, of course, that we either had or continue to grow. Wilson College, Shippensburg University, Harrisburg University, Lackawanna College, and Robert Morris University. So all these are very strategic partners which will support some of the things that I'm going to share with you in our initiatives moving forward. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the planning phase of all of this. So we wanted to talk about what we have, what we need, and what we want. About 2 months ago, the entire group of directors got together for an entire day at the F&M Bank facility over here off of Orchard Drive. And the main role there was for us all to talk about schools of distinction. And without a doubt, career exploration is a part of that, and we can't forget that. Not long after that, Mrs. Luffy and myself, we shared a half-day meeting with all the directors here at the DAO, again, talking about what we have, what we need, and what we want. And there was some very interesting information that came out of that, but again, we learned a lot. And through that process, we looked at several items of data. Some data information like what CMS and FCCTC look like in regards to the last 5 years. How many students are applying? How many students are getting in? What are the different groupings and so forth that they're applying for? We looked at graduation data from Chambersburg Area Senior High School and CMS to see what students were planning to do following graduation. We talked about the county data and the largest employers and what they're looking to do in the next few years. And a very important piece was the South Central PA local and state data, because we don't want to look at what we're going to need to, a year from now or even tomorrow. We want to talk about what's 10 years look like from now. So we looked at all this information, and from that, we talked about, well, what about a location for all these things? What's the academics look like? Credentials, and even a timeline. So I want to share with you, before we get too far into the weeds here, what is the academy model? Because you're probably sitting there thinking, what do you mean academy model? So the key piece here is, when we started talking about the academy model, we wanted to think about, well, where will this all be located? So there were 4 options that we brought to the table. One of the options was we just utilize the Career Magnet School only as an academy location. Another option was, should it be all year? Should it be semester about? We talked about a distributed model. Is this where we should put academies all throughout the community in different locations? And then, of course, the last option was, do we just do a grade 9 academy at CMS? So when we talked about all this, we narrowed it down to one option. And that option that the administration is recommending is that we have 8 academies for grades 10 through 12 that is all year, and we have 4 of these academies at Cassius and 4 of them at the Career Magnet School. I can personally say, with my 8 years of experience as the head principal at the high school, and similar to what the gentleman said here earlier from Crabtree Rural, having these academies will without a doubt make that very large high school over here across the street much smaller. And that's what's going to be very important for students. Because again, like I mentioned before, we want to engage the students so that way they're involved in their education. I too believe by doing this, it's going to improve attendance for students as well as their academics. This next slide shares with you the proposed academies that came out of the meetings that we held with the directors after we looked at several pieces of data. Now keep in mind, the proposed academy options are based on sustained annual demand from the data, localized employer concentration, and projected growth rates, again, over the next 10 years. Underneath each one of these academies, you also see listed some business partners that I've already made connections with who are extremely excited about what we're talking about here. I also want to share with you that Deb Luffy and myself met with Leslie Schumann, who is at the Career Tech Center now. She's the director there. And she was very excited to hear what we are planning to do as well. And the reason we met with her was because we want to make sure that we do not duplicate any of the services that they're providing there. But she was supportive in knowing some of the things that we plan to do, because she too sees the need as she talks to employers and so forth. Within these academies, I want you to understand that we're not taking away from the core concepts of the core classes that students would be taking, but we're adding on to that some of the other great pieces, which would be like the college and the high school and student certifications and credentials. So this slide points out some of the certifications that all students could be afforded. But these are, again, are examples of what we could offer. The goal, of course, would be to close the regional credentials gap. When I meet with a lot of business partners, one of the things that they say to me is, we prefer candidates who actually come to the table with industry certifications. It shows to them, a student who actually achieves these credentials or certifications, it proves to them that they have commitment and specialized knowledge. So they're very marketable. On top of these certifications, students would be able to write these down on their resume. It would also assist us with the Act 150 graduation pathways, which I've shared with you earlier with the Project 339. And of course, it really makes them look good on post-secondary applications because, again, it shows them commitment and specialized knowledge. So the big question is, when? When's all this going to happen? So this evening you had a lot of conversation about the construction projects. Well, here's a timeline for the plan to implement academies here within Chambersburg Area School District. Now keep in mind, this is strategic, what you see in front of you. There's time there. Many of you are thinking, well, wait a second, we're in the 2025-26 school year currently. This end point shows 2030, 31. Well, we want to make sure we have time to do this correctly. We also need to make sure that we are communicating very carefully with our community, with parents, with students, as well as staff. And lastly, of course, our business partners. So what I want to point out here, especially in this timeline, is this. We are currently in the 25-26 school year. As you progress through this timeline, you start to see where there's some transitions occurring. The plan in 2027 and 28 would be that we would have all grade 9 students transition to the high school, where every grade 9 student would attend, okay? That would be in the 27-28 school year. That's not next year. That gives us a little bit of time next year to plan and prepare for that to occur. Following that is the 28-29 school year, and that, of course, is when we would transition all students who are attending our FCCTC programs back to Cash's semester about for their academics. So just to make sure you're understanding that, students who go to the Career Tech Center in 28-29 would do a semester at the Career Tech Center, and their other semester would be at Cash's for academics only. What this provides us is a full transition where we could have CMS, or Career Magnet School, a full school of just 4 academies, where students would go grades 10 through 12 all year. And then, of course, at Cash's, we would also have 4 academies, and we'd have all 9th graders there. We would have FCCTC students there semester about for their academics, and we would accomplish all of this starting in grade 28-29. The key ingredient, too, for you to understand is this. The current cohorts of students would not see much impact on any of this. That would include the current students at Cash's, as well as the current students who are at FCCTC, because they would graduate prior to these major transitions. And that was key to us. It was very important. However, the group that we really truly need to communicate with, that will feel the 100% impact, is the current grade 7 class. So our goal, of course, would be to begin communication very quickly once we move forward with our proposal, because that grade 7 class will be the first class that actually would be all grade 9 at Cash's. They would be the first class, if they chose to go to FCCTC, would be the students who would also get their academics at Cash's. And they, too, would be the first class who would see full implementation of the academies, 9 through 12. So some key implementation challenges that I just want to bring to your attention that we definitely are going to keep a very close eye on would be facility requirements. Will there be any need for construction or modification at any of the facilities? And especially transportation. Is there any transportation changes? Staffing considerations. Just this morning, Mrs. Luffy and myself met with some key components, which are staff who attended Ignite with us. We had some Cash's students, or Cash's staff, as well as some CMS staff. We're talking to them to make sure that we have adequate staffing components. Student access. We want to make sure that we have equitable access for students. There would be a plan to have an application. Students would apply to get into these academies because we want to make sure it's purposeful and they understand the reasoning behind it. And then, of course, just district collaboration. with all stakeholders involved, because it's important that we communicate, as I mentioned before, with all the transitions that will be taking place. So as we talk about the future and the vision for this entire proposal, we need to definitely celebrate our student accomplishments. The ultimate goal would be to make the high school diploma more valuable for every graduate by providing the following. We hope that all students would have a work-based learning experience. They would all have the opportunity to receive industry-recognized credentials and certifications. And we would continue to offer them post-secondary credits through our early to college programming. And lastly, it's without a doubt the goal of everyone in this district that we would ensure every graduate in the future economic security and generational wealth. So with that, I just want you to understand that there's still a lot of work to do. It's been very enjoyable for me since July to learn all the things that are going on within our community. I want to continue to create and establish more partnerships than we already have. And I'm looking forward to continued academy designs as we talk to our staff as well as our students. So with that, is this a plan do you think the school board at Chambersburg Area School District can support moving forward?
Questions for Mr. Rocker?
Congratulate you on your ambitious plan, and I'm sure we'll get there. But if we have any personal relationships with folks that have small businesses or anything, how do we ensure that they get connected to you?
You can have them email me. I will tell you that I'm planning here, hopefully in about middle of December, to send out an invite to all the partners that I've either met or will be meeting very soon. I want to do a complete formal presentation on what it's going to look like, and then also share with them how they can get involved in three aspects of the plan. Either be a career presenter, provide job shadowing, or an actual internship for our students before they graduate.
Thank you.
Other questions?
One of my questions is how much in freshman and sophomore years do students have the opportunity to explore these 8 different areas? And then a second question is, what about the kids that don't fit neatly in any of these 8 categories? What will their educational experience be like?
Sure. So for starters, we are providing a lot of things just recently, now that I've been in this role. Today, we had some career presenters come in. We are personally inviting students who've completed their career interest inventories and personality inventories in Zello to match them up with the career that they're interested in, so that way it's purposeful. So they're going to be seeing that. We're calling that Takeaway Tuesdays. So next week, we have 2 more presenters coming in. So again, we're hopeful that many of the students will see the career presenters. The job shadowing aspect, I'm hopeful that we can gain more partnerships and individuals from that December meeting that will say, hey, yes, we'll take some students out to shadow. Mm-hmm. The students who don't maybe fit into these academies, Mrs. Luffy and myself are actually looking at a program. It's like foundational studies, but it'll be similar to what we currently have. Mm-hmm. All right, it just won't be following academy model, which will have essentially scripted courses in which the students will complete. So that way they are working towards that career path.
So like within the high school at a given time, like what percentage of students would be within one of the 8 academies?
So our goal is to have academies that have at least 120 students and no more than 150.
So yeah, I need to do the math on that then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so half the students. Absolutely. Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question about the students who are currently in the IB or program or taking AP classes. Do you see that these academies marrying with those?
I do, because a lot of the courses that we're going to provide in these academies are early to college courses, and a lot of the AP courses that we currently offer, which is about 23 of them, are part of the early to college, they're part of the college and the high school courses that we offer. So those students will still be able to take them. It's just, do they wish to get into a very strict academy concept with scripted courses, or would they prefer to stay out into the foundational pieces and be able to still pick and choose which courses they take? You mentioned IB. IB is already scripted. Essentially, we've been doing that for, I don't know, 8 years maybe. And students who are grades 11 and 12 who are in the full diploma program, it's 100% scripted. They have no option to sway from the courses that are provided to them if they wish to complete a full diploma.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
One of the things that I think is exciting is to increase the success of more students, because what I have found, and I just had an example of that in an interaction that I had in the last 24 hours, it doesn't really matter many times what career path a student graduates in, as long as they have been successful, they can take what they learned and move. My example is a cosmetology student who I spoke to in the last 24 hours, who is a Pennsylvania State policeman. Now, what's the connect between having completed the cosmetology program at the Career Center and being a state policeman? She was successful. In my own practical nursing program, I had so many students who came thinking that they couldn't do it. And through that year, seeing them be successful in each successive level built them up to the point that they then maybe didn't choose to stay in nursing, but they knew they were successful and they could move into another area. So I don't think it's that important that every child has the career pathway that they're going to follow for the rest of their life. The important thing is that they reach a success that many of our current students are not feeling that success.
Mrs. Gogler, you're exactly right. Like I mentioned earlier, employers are looking for commitment. So if they see a student coming to the table with credentials and certifications that they had to work through for several hours and maybe even months to attain, that shows commitment, and that's exactly what they're looking for. I'll give you a real quick story and then I'll be finished. When we visited one of our partners, there were individuals who weren't the top of their class, but when the recruiters came to hire, they hired the ones who were there every day, had perfect attendance before they looked at anyone else. So that just gives you an example of commitment.
I'd love to see these built out then, to see like, okay, what is your, if you're in the academy, what's your standard, say, junior year gonna look like? I know that's coming. It
sure is. Yeah, Mrs. Luffy and myself are currently working on that, and that's what we actually met with the staff this morning to discuss.
Sure.
How does this look from a teacher's lens? How does it look from a student's lens?
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where you take this.
Yeah, I got one quick question or observation, because I also, along with others, school board members, attended the Excite.
The Ignite?
Ignite. It was exciting, though, I must say. And at several presentations, there was a definite presence of county and I think state officials who were deeply involved and committed to the program. Are you having been building those relationships, and you get that sense that here we'll have that same kind of commitment?
100%. As I mentioned, some of the boards that I've been meeting with, one in particular I met when I was at Mike Ross's Franklin County Development Corporation. You had policymakers at the table. You had a very large organization out here at Letterkenny at the table. You had the county representatives, you had the Chamber of Commerce there. Everybody's on board. They're extremely excited. They've been opening their doors for me to come and visit. It's incredible. That's the word I'll use. It's incredible how interested they are in what we're planning to do.
Mike, the only thing I'll say to that is they were designed that way from the beginning on how they ran the county system. We're not set up as the county system. So they had some advantages on how that we do not, because we're a local controller. So I don't want to overpromise that we're going to look exactly like that. We're going to have some participation, but it won't be as formal as their system was very formal.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yep. I think one thing I want to really emphasize that was the brilliance of the team putting this together is that it started as a CMS 2.0 and turned into let's do this in both schools. And I think that's to Brad and to Deb and to the team discussing what should we do for both schools, not just one school. And so the idea of 8 academies has surfaced and that all kids can benefit from an academy is really exciting and challenging at the same time. So I'm very happy they went down that path. Certainly absence of our ideas. That just matriculated through the discussions and the constant feedback and the visits and the revisiting and the rethinking of what would work for Chambersburg. So thank you for that design, because I think that's a big step forward for all of us.
Thank you.
From a board view, just be clear that if you continue to support this, and this is the 9th grade going to Cassius, that'll certainly be a challenge point for some families that maybe don't want to necessarily all attend Cassius in 9th grade. We will have to adjust potentially some of our graduation expectations. And then you can also see some downstream challenges as we make the changes happen over time. So there'll be some people affected in the middle of the change. And so career tech students going to Cassius is another pressure point. So understand these are some of our policy decisions we're going to be making that you have to be okay with and support. So we may be bringing some of those recommendations for approval because they do affect a lot of people in the school district. Does that make sense? Yeah. Trying to highlight some of the pressure points that you're going to feel.
I don't necessarily need this answered right now, but it seems like some of this is based around block scheduling.
That is correct.
And I'd love to just hear how is that going at Cassius?
Yeah.
Not right now,
Sure.
necessarily.
Sure, end of the year, yeah.
But if were we to tweak that, that would change how you might design this a little bit too. I would think so.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to take it all in. Because it's a lot. But anyway, once it, we can delineate it out, what does the 9th grade year look like, 10th grade? If you're in this specific academy, what are you going, just like he had said, what are you specifically taking and how does that work? And then I can I'm a visual person, so then I can see it better. But absolutely. I think you're really on to some good things here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rocker.
Yes, thank you.
Take a poll. Keep going.
That's up to you. Yeah. We can punt it. Or
Punt it.
It's close to the clock, they got another half hour.
Punt.
Before it starts.
Punt it.
Punt? You get a punt?
It's been
Go
long.
for it.
Go for it.
Okay, as Mr. Whitman gets ready here, we're having a quick discussion up here. What's the board's pleasure? Do we want to keep going, or do we want to move the data report to December reorg meeting? Thoughts, comments, quickly. Kurt's getting antsy.
December. Okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Adick.
I read through the report. It's awesome. It's very detailed, a lot of numbers. And I was looking for if there was a possibility that we could see some of the data in a visual format.
You have it right here.
It's on your desk.
Right here.
Did you see this?
No, I'm talking about graphs and charts, and so I could see what we've done, what we're projecting, what we're doing against the rest of the state averages and stuff like that. And we could have our own goal that we might even exceed. So it gives us an idea of what's going on over time, plus projections out to the future. How well are we doing? I'm a visual person too, so someone said that. So all these numbers are great, but like back and forth, if I see a picture, it means more to me. So that's what I'm looking for in the future. Maybe not in December, but sometime soon.
So do we want to keep going tonight is the question.
I have a question regarding that. No presentation scheduled for the December 2nd meeting at this point?
Correct. Reorganization and then a cow.
Me personally, there's a lot of data to absorb here, and
I agree.
I would really like to do it in a setting that it's not, I've been up since 4 a.m. and it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I agree.
So for me
Yep.
personally, I would like to spend I know you worked very hard on this, and I would really, I don't want to put you out, but I want to give it the time and attention I think it deserves. And I don't know that I can give you what you deserve after sitting through all these presentations tonight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I will if that's what the group wants to do, but I would like to defer.
I concur.
I think
it's
another
better we move.
advantage of that is I sent out a
Yeah, more
Yeah.
time to look.
request that you look at it before tonight's meeting, but now having a hard copy of
Yeah,
it,
I'd ask
hopefully
Kurt,
that will
yeah.
force you or
Help you.
increase the opportunity for you to read the information
Yeah.
So-
that was online.
Kurt, would it be okay with you, since you're the one presenting,
Exactly.
if are you available to do this in the December meeting?
Of course. I mean, actually, it was 4 of us presenting. I was kicking it off, giving a holistic overview, and then each division, they're going to give they were going to talk about their strategic priorities with what they see.
Yeah. Because I did look through it, and it is thank you very much. There's so much information in there, and so I had it printed off, and then now this too, to go back and really dig in. And then for me, I don't like gotcha questions, so then if I have questions as we come through, I can send them to you ahead of time, so we're not spending
That would
half
be
an hour on
perfect.
my questions too.
Yeah.
I agree.
You can send them to me, and we will work on the
Perfect.
questions for then, or get them out in the Friday reports.
Perfect.
So,
I-
no
I-
problem.
I concur.
I concur. Okay. Well, thank you, admin team. I guess, be prepared for a bunch more questions, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, the new item 5, privilege of the floor, members of the audience. Anyone wish to make a comment on agenda item? Okay.
Good thing we moved that.
It's the thought that counts, Ben.
It's just being thoughtful.
New item 6, consent agenda, new items. So items 5.01 through 5.11, 512 is the all-encompassing one anyway. But these are all new items since we're having one meeting this month. Are there any of these items that a board member wishes to comment or have any specific questions on that we should pull out, that you would like to pull out of the group, consent group, if you will?
I'm not a board member, but 509 I would like to talk about a little bit before the vote.
Okay, so 509 will be separated. Anything else? I usually ask that question of the
Yeah, that's all
admin
right.
first,
That's all
goodness. Okay, so if we can, let's have a motion and second for items 5.01 through 5.08, and then 5.10 to 5.12. Motion and second, please.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Haydick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. 5.09, motion and second, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Diller, second by Ms. Harbaugh. Mr. Bigger?
Yeah, the superintendents have been working collectively with the Franklin Learning Center, for quite some time. But recently, Shippensburg approached the superintendents and asked if they could join officially the Franklin Learning Center, which would require bylaw changes. So we were open to the idea. Dr. Marchese, the LIU, helped organize the bylaws. They owned a lot of the documents and the authority. So they helped us work through the process over the last 6 to 8 months, and to get to this point where we are considering the vote to allow Shippensburg to formally join the Franklin Learning Center as a member district, which gives them privileges and also requirements. With that, for Chambersburg specifically, it would reduce our vote from 4 seats in voting to 3 on that board. It would reduce our overall obligation financially from around 48% of the budget cost to about 42%. And then any borrowing or improvements on the Franklin Learning Center would be shared by 6 school districts instead of 5, which would reduce our overall financial burden. I give the LIU credit. They're also expanding programs where the pool was to provide more seats at the Franklin Learning Center. So we see this from the superintendent view, not the board view, as a financial win and an opportunity win for Chambersburg students and programs. You have the details of the bylaw so far. All school districts except us have approved it so far. We are the last on the list for approval. So I think this is good all around overall, as long as the school board can get through the loss of that 1 seat, I think is a challenge there. But the rest of the communications around this has been pretty forthcoming from the IU to the superintendents to Shippensburg. So at this point, I'll take questions on the topic if you have some, or concerns or questions.
I possibly should have asked this question whenever the Dr. Markowski was here, but what are the other non-member districts besides Shippensburg who have been sending to the Franklin Learning Center? And is it the income, the financial benefit of having those non-member schools send students that is the reason for allowing that? Or would we be better to not have non-member participation and have more of our students or students from the other member schools going to the Franklin Learning Center? I don't understand the rationale for non-member schools in the past or projecting to the future.
Yeah, I think the non-member school, and when I was superintendent at Littlestown, we sent students to the Franklin Learning Center. And it was the best option for us because we didn't have any other options. I know Fairfield sends students. I believe we have 18 approximately students who are non-member students who attend outside of Shippensburg. And so until recently, they paid about the same cost as a non-member, and I think the FLC increased that. So I think by increasing the non-member per student cost, it forced a little bit of this issue. I don't think the Franklin Learning Center wanted to accept students from necessarily other schools, but in order to make the budget more cost effective for us by accepting them, it did lower our overall costs. So I do think it does help the overall budget to run a program full versus running it half full. And so if you have a teacher, an aide, and another paraprofessional in there, and you have 5 kids versus 10 kids, the cost is the same. And so I think that's my understanding of the non-member versus member. I think by allowing Shippensburg to come in, it will limit the non-members considerably moving forward, except for those new programs. And so I think we call them business rules. We will open a classroom when we have X amount of students, and we will close the classroom when we drop below a certain amount of students. But that usually can't happen until the end of the year or the beginning of the year. We try not to close programs in the middle of the year. And I know that's a long answer to your question, but that's my understanding of where the non-member was and why it existed. It was really just to offset the budget.
Similar thread to Mrs. Gogler, and should have been maybe a question for Dr. McCasey, but I think if I remember from years past, maybe a legacy concern at Franklin Learning Center wasn't necessarily the space, but the availability of staff. So has that improved where they can staff all these programs, potential attendees, and then does this situation help that, hurt that, or is it non-event? About 4 questions all in one.
Yeah, it was. Those on the Franklin Learning Center or IU, do you want to tackle any of that?
From the IU perspective, we recently did a pretty decent sized pay scale increase to make us a lot more competitive. And so some of the vacancies that we were seeing are quickly being filled. So I believe that they're on pace to get, I won't say all, but a significant amount of the vacancies that they were concerned about having. In regards to the new programs that they're doing out there, I can't speak to that because I'm not 100% sure what that looks like yet. They haven't brought that to us. But there was a very significant pay increase at the support staff and the teaching levels, and we have definitely seen a massive increase in the applications for the vacant positions that were there.
So it's something we need to maybe keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Definite maybe. Okay.
If you're teaching or providing services at a place like the Franklin Learning Center, you're so committed. It takes a special person to do that kind of work.
It does.
And hopefully through the academies, we'll be providing teachers like that.
Sure.
So these people, anybody who works there is very, very committed. And I think the longevity there is, and the tenure there is, it's good to go. It's a great place.
Just need more of them?
You know, it's a business model, but it's also an education model, and it's economy of scale for them and for us. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
If they have staff to fill the needs.
Right.
I guess that's that's a concern with my question. In years past, there could have been more students there, but there wasn't the staff that could handle more students.
To project out a little and not speak too ahead, there is going to be some new pricing things,
Yes.
the way that it goes. I guess I can say it
We've
like
seen that. Yeah, we've seen the pricing.
And I think he shared that with you.
Yep.
We're in first review right now. And so some of that, I think, is going to perhaps dictate whether districts are bringing kids back in or what's going on, because some of that comes with a hefty price tag, and you'll see that as we move forward. The rationale behind that, some of the rationale was, and Tammy, maybe you can speak to this, at the end of the year, you had no idea what it was going to be because it was on a scale and nobody really knew. And so you see all these special ed budget transfers and nobody knows what's happening. It's like the wild, wild west. But this is going to be kind of like, I likened it to an a la carte menu. You're going to have this service for emotional support, it's going to be $50,000. You're going to have this service for dual, and it's going to be $80,000. You're going to know what the price point is, and if you have 5 kids at this and 3 kids at this, you're going to know going into it. And so I think that consistency and ability to plan is going to help the districts decide, do we really need this? Are we going to pull stuff back in? Which may then, in turn, if we're pulling things back in, alleviate or create some positions that the current staff has at the IU that they can do other things if districts are pulling stuff back in. So there's a lot of fluidity, I think, that's coming, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on as far as staffing goes, because there are shortages everywhere, specifically in special education, because it is a very challenging job.
Tammy, you moved the microphone.
I heard my name.
Okay.
No, I would agree with what Ms. Harbaugh is saying. In the way that they bill now is they kind of project, and then they actualize it, and then they project, and then they actualize it, and then this goes on about 4 times a year till we get to the end of the year, and then we get a reconciliation. And I would say, at least in the last 5 to 6 years, we've always overpaid and gotten money back because of the final reconciliation. It's based on like an ADM, the amount of students that are there. So to your point, knowing what the cost is going to be the cost. The other thing they did is, if you had a PCA that was assigned to one of our students, they were passing along the actual cost of that individual instead of coming up with a blended rate. So if you had a person who had been there for 20 years, you're paying more. So I think it would be fairer for the districts is kind of what I'm saying.
Predictable.
Yes, predictable.
Well, but when I look at the extremely high cost of our special ed students that go to River Rock or to these various New Story or wherever, it's significantly more than what we're talking about here. And so it seems as though we need to maintain more Franklin Learning positions and reduce the number that are going to some of these other places if possible.
Agreed.
And just for the public's clarification, my colleague pulled hypothetical numbers out of the sky. I don't want anybody to think that it's 80,000 here or 50,000 there. She was just using that as an example. I have people who will probably show up tomorrow at my shop asking me questions, so I just wanted to.
Thank you for the persistence.
Always
have my back, I appreciate that.
I got you.
Well, I'm just pleased that there is ongoing discussion about, with the IU and with the Franklin Learning Center, because I think that it's very difficult to budget for what's going on at the Franklin Learning Center. And I think with these discussions going on and setting the rates, people will have a better understanding of what's going on, because it's very hard. There's a lack of transparency figuring out the Schedule A, the Schedule B, and what we're entertaining as far as the financial end of it. So I think more explanation on that, more discussion on that will highlight some things that may need to be changed.
And we will absolutely know if we can decide to bring a program back and do it more cost effective or not now.
Right.
We'll actually know that. And I think
We
that's
know
the
those
point of
numbers.
that, yes.
Yes.
There's a threshold that says, hey, we can do this for $150,000 to $200,000 cheaper, we're gonna try to do that. If it's $10,000 or $20,000, it's not worth probably considering that, but now we'll know. And I think that was the whole point of why they did this.
That's exactly right.
Well, and with the building projects coming up,
Yep.
that we will have
Absolutely.
space that we can do things and, think outside the box on all of this.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Item 5.09.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. Now back on item 9.01, gifts, grants, and donations. Mr. Woodman, do you have anything to add? Comments? Okay, motion and second. Item 9.01, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Raber. Questions, discussions from board members?
I'm sorry, what number are we on? I apologize.
9.01.
The one about dog food.
Oh, that one, okay.
It's right after 8.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. So this next group, policy and legislation, gonna ask both admin first and then board members, treat each one of these subsections, if you will, sort of as a mini consent agenda item. For instance, each one of these policy groups can have multiple policies in it. So if there's a specific policy within one of these subgroups, I'm gonna ask if you'd like to pull it out, and then otherwise we'll vote on all the policies within the group as one. So for instance, item 10.01, and I turned my page, shouldn't have done that. There are 5 policies involved in this, or included in this, for retirement of policies. Policy 227.1, policy 232, policy 310, policy 410, and policy 422. Are there any of those policies that a board member would like to vote on, discuss, comment separately, or admin? Okay, hearing none, a motion for item 10.01 to retire the 5 policies I just read off.
Move to approve.
Motion by Dr. Diller, second by Mr. Hayduck. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. Same procedure for item 10.02. There are 4 policies with no changes. Policy 228, policy 231, policy 235, and policy 236. Any of one of those 4 policies that admin or board member wishes to discuss, vote on, debate separately? Okay. Hearing none, motion and second for item 10.02 approval of the 4 policies I just mentioned with no changes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mrs. Gogler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so move. 10.03, this is one we tabled at a previous meeting, so this is gonna be a 2-step process. Gonna need a motion and no second to table it, correct? To take it off the table? Just a motion, yeah. We're gonna need a motion to take item 10.03, which is policy 123.3, to take it from the table.
Move to take it from the table.
Okay, and you agree, we don't need a second on that, correct? Okay, so item 10.03, policy 123.3 is now live. Like a motion and a second for approval of item 10.03, the policy for coaches, advisors, code of ethics.
Mr. Norcross, 123.3 is actually in 10.04.
First read?
Yeah.
We moved the approval in 04.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll actually vote on it in 04.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Good
yeah,
catch.
sure.
So we don't need to vote on 10.03
Nope, we just
then?
took it off the table.
It's
and now
off the
in
table.
there.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Stauffer.
You're welcome.
Okay, item 10.04. There are 9 or 10? Nine individual policies within this section of first reading of policies. Same question, are there any of these 9 policies that the admin team or board member would like to discuss separately?
Yes. Policy 205, please.
Policy 205,
Yes, policy 915.
policy 915.
Can I just ask a question? Oh, sorry. I don't want to take anything off, but can I ask why 123.3 was tabled since I wasn't here?
There was some, there was a board member who had a couple of
Language
recommendations on some
Oh,
language.
okay. So that's what I saw on there that's highlighted in green? That's, okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Nope, good question. Okay. I'm gonna flip this around I'm gonna flip this around a little bit because it'll be easier. So a motion and second for policy 205 on the first read. Just the one policy, policy 205. Motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Harbaugh, second by Mr. Raber. Questions, discussions, comments?
I only have one question. Why did it change? I mean, I saw what we were doing before, and then now all of a sudden, we're not doing that. I mean, so did the law change, or we just?
Well, there was a year post-COVID where you could be educated beyond 21. I think it went to 22. They added a year.
Just for a year. Yeah.
Just for a year, and then everybody went back to a firm 21, and mostly because of financial reasons, that if you continue to educate students beyond that, we're obligated. So everybody went back to a very firm 21, we're done.
Okay.
Now, also prior to this is a very dated policy. There was a time when it wasn't as strict on the 21. You could do additional things. You could read that verbiage in there. But that's when the cost for all students was about the same.
Okay.
I think when the cost between a regular and special education student has broadened so much, it's become a fiscal decision to draw that line at 21.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay, anything else on policy 2.05? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye for approval of policy 205 on the first reading.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved. We're gonna skip down to policy 915. Motion and second, please, for approval of policy 915 on the first reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Raber. Questions, comments, discussion?
Tammy, you and I have a few, so why don't you start a little bit, Tammy, with the the policy changes, and I'll get into the why.
Okay, so the policy had been changed, I think, back in 2017, that really made this more of a booster policy, as it was referencing some of the Title IX concerns we had had. There was not really a lot of meat to the policy to help guide our PTAs and our PTOs. So Bev Lang in Chris's office and I did some research and kind of came up with a policy that would help guide the PTOs and PTAs as they're dealing with financial information. We presented this policy to the PAG, the Parent Advisory Group. They provided a few questions, a few feedbacks. One of the things that may change after the first read was we were recommending that they do reconciliations of their bank accounts on a monthly basis. There's a lot of PTOs and PTAs that struggle with the people that come routinely. They ask if that could maybe move to bi-monthly or quarterly. I think bi-monthly would be okay. I think quarterly would be stretching a little bit to do a monthly bank reconciliation. Everything else they seem to be okay with. The other question that they had is what would happen if a PTA or a PTO or even a booster club failed to follow these guidelines. And within the policy, it states that the administration could recommend to the board that the organization no longer be affiliated with this district and not be able to utilize our facilities. So there is some teeth in requiring that they follow the procedures and the guidelines.
And the impetus for this is historically many organizations, PTA, PTO, and others, sometimes don't have the best accounting practices. We know we have a current one that we're in the middle of investigating, and there were a couple prior to me coming. So we feel it's our duty from policy to prevent problems from happening rather than just catch people doing things wrong. We think this will prevent many of the past issues from reoccurring moving forward. And so this practice will sharpen our pencil, sharpen their pencil, and hopefully not have these issues that we're currently having or have had in the past over the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, Mrs. Stauffer, I think you answered my one question. This would include boosters. How about Chambersburg Area Education Association? Are they covered under this same policy?
They would not be covered under this policy.
What's the difference?
They're a separate affiliated, they're technically not affiliated with the district like a booster organization or a PTA, PTO, but this would not cover the Chambersburg Area Foundation.
That's spelled out in the first paragraph too. It does clarify that. One question I have is,
let me finish that. So,
yep.
But they raise funds under the Chambersburg Area School District umbrella and allocate those funds after they raise them under our umbrella. I guess maybe the better way to ask that question, what's the difference between a booster club and Chambersburg Area Education Association? Well, what's the difference?
I personally believe the difference is that the Chambersburg Area Foundation is governed by a board, a volunteer board of directors, where what you find with PTAs and PTOs is you will have officers that are coming in and out. There's not a lot of consistency in terms of who's kind of, managing all of the things that need to be done with a PTA, PTO. I don't know if Mr. Bigger has anything else that.
No, the only other component I would say is the bylaws that are driven through the foundation would probably be more succinct and detailed compared to a PTA, PTO, or booster, which would have the conditions in which we exchange funds, how they're allocating funds, and we have some authority over that.
Well, even the booster club tends to have parents of current students, and when those current students are no longer students, now there are some people who continue that relationship beyond their student or their children being students and so on, but the majority, as I understand with booster clubs, tend to be current students in the school, so I see that as being similar to the PTOs.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I was going to ask,
were you
But
finished?
No, go with your question. I have a separate question.
Yeah.
Go.
One question I had is that if PTO or booster is not in compliance, what kind of timeline is a reasonable that we would hope that they would become in compliance? Because as I read through this, I would imagine that not every PTO has all of their ducks in a row.
Right.
I would think they have most of them, but
That's a very good question. I mean, we really haven't discussed a timeline. I think we probably, when the board would approve this, I would recommend that we would either start at the beginning of a season with a team, with the boosters, or we implement this in the next school year with the PTAs, PTOs. Gives them enough time to sort of look through the policy. The other thing that the PAG did ask, and we did comply with this, is they asked that we notify all of the boosters and the PTAs. We did that through the AD today, and also through the president of the PAG sent information out, letting them know that this policy was on the agenda to be reviewed.
I would suggest we would probably have a warning, you know, some time frame, typical with anything else. I don't think we want to spell it out just yet. When we don't maybe have a crisis, it would be when needed, and hopefully we don't need it very often. Or not at all. Yeah, that'd be great.
one question I had, an additional question under the fundraising section, right in the middle of the paragraph. I'm seeking a little bit of clarity on what we mean by this. Student solicitation within the community for any school, organization, and group shall be minimal. When we did the Race for Education last year, that is what we got. But we were hoping for more than minimal. So I'm not sure exactly what's meant by that, and I wonder if maybe we could reword that to get at a little bit more what the concern is, maybe?
Well, the concern and the intent of that is to prevent over-requesting to businesses, which I know that happens frequently.
Sure.
To try to balance the need for the organizations and also, like I said, the over-requesting that can come whenever people are fundraising. I know sometimes small businesses get hit by groups constantly, so I don't know that we really want to tighten that guideline so much as just to put it in there as, be cautious, be aware of it, type of thing, unless the board would rather it be a little bit tighter.
I mean, it almost seems to discourage fundraising when I think there might be I don't know what the better way is, but
Well,
I wonder if we could just
in a
work
smaller
on that.
school, I would suggest this, but I'm not here, is we had a schedule of fundraising, and you couldn't compete. You had a master fundraising schedule.
Yeah.
And you did not compete in certain weeks for certain things. So, hey, it's this booster does this day, this one's and you could do that. I don't think it'd be possible to have a master calendar fundraising schedule here in Chambersburg.
Yeah.
So that's the point of that, is to minimize the going and asking.
I would imagine that, like, from PTO to PTO and PTA, I think we have 8 PTOs and 5 PTAs right now. I would imagine that maybe some do need this and some kind of need the opposite. Like, hey, y'all could do a little bit more. So
just a wording change around the intent of what Tammy said would work, instead of just the word minimal.
Yeah. Another question I had is around facility usage. I think that this might be in here more for the boosters than athletics. But
My pages are not numbered, so I'm trying to find the facility part. Go ahead with your question.
I think that the way some of the PTOs function is that there's open communication between PTO president and building principal. Hey, we'd like to have a meeting. Can it be this date? I don't think there's a lot of following the formal facility usage policy. I'd have to go back and look at that to see. But is there a way to simplify that so that it's not cumbersome and so that we are in compliance? And you might want something.
Elementary issue. It's a difference.
As I was reading through all of this, I kind of wondered, do we really need 2 separate things? One for PTOs and one for boosters. I'm okay with it lumped together, but there were a few areas where, I think this is in here because of the boosters. I think this is in here because of the PTOs, and it wasn't necessarily specified, perhaps because you're pulling language from several different places.
Actually, most districts have both of the PTOs and the boosters covered in one policy.
Sure.
And to answer your question, we don't want to make it cumbersome, but my preference would be that individuals are using rooms in the elementary buildings, that they schedule those through FMX. That way we know who's in the building, and it's a better process than just going to the principal and saying, hey, we're having a PTA meeting tonight.
Sure.
It just makes things a little bit cleaner. And all of the elementary secretaries do have the ability to do and help with scheduling through the FMX system.
Yeah. Okay. I know on our, like, the PTO I'm a part of, things seem to be going smoothly on that front. I just don't know if we're in compliance. So.
Mr. Raber, you bring up a good point there, and I'm going to hold off on my question. I'll do it next. But if we have carved out the foundation from policy 915, is it maybe not a good idea to carve out boosters? And I'm thinking because of simply the scale and the magnitude. You talk about auditing and finances. I think on a booster level, there's a lot more activity and a larger fund balance than a PTA, PTO. So if we make a special policy or we specifically carve out foundation, should we not maybe carve out boosters? And to that point, and Mrs. Gogler's shaking her head at me, so maybe she won't share it now, that we had this discussion as a board several years ago, and there was a neighboring district that had a pretty good policy, I thought, in my opinion. I think you shared it out, Mrs. Gogler, 'cause I think maybe you liked that policy also, which is why you shared it out. And it was more in line with boosters than it would have been a PTA, PTO policy.
Without reviewing it, I can't say that that's true or not. But the amount of money coming into different PTA, PTOs, and different booster clubs probably varies significantly. Some of the more affluent PTA, PTOs, more aggressive in their fundraising, probably have as much money as some of the small sports booster clubs. I think
Don't they
you're-
all operate under one now, though, for the most part? The individual booster clubs all work under really one. It's one 5013C, isn't it? For all
I
the
think they
booster-
maintain separate accounts.
Yeah.
But it's one 5013C, I believe.
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, that might be possible. Yeah, that would make sense.
Since this was all Title IX stuff,
That's probably when part of the reason why this discussion was had 3-4 years ago.
yeah, that's correct. And we were actually given that policy based off of the boosters because of Title IX issues. So the umbrella organization is the 501c3 for all the boosters. But each booster then is separate under that, but reports to the umbrella, so to speak. But the funds stay with football,
Right.
basketball, things like that.
Wrestling,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just to note that the policy, the language that was put into this policy several years ago from Title IX was retained. The only thing we did was add more information for the PTOs, PTAs. And Dr. Long did have a chance to review that.
So, Chris, this would be a question for you. And I asked earlier if Faye could maybe possibly share out that policy again, because I would like to reread it myself. But we could change this policy anytime, and if there were maybe components of this other policy that we liked, we could add it into
Good. I mean,
our revised
the
915.
intent of our change now is the PTA, PTO focus and the procedures. If there's other intentions for changing for boosters, then I would need to get involved into what we would want to see there. So right now, we only brought this for the PTA, PTO side, primarily.
You said most districts do have just one policy
Yeah,
in
in
our
the research,
area.
yeah.
I found that is
Yeah.
accurate, yes.
But that doesn't mean we couldn't look at the policy that's being referenced.
I think any changes that I noticed are like relatively minor, and to split it is a lot more work for somebody. And so I'd recommend like sticking with one for now until we have really good reason to make it two separate ones. I think we're close.
But if we do have other ones we want to look at, just send them our way. We'll take a look at the language from other policies. That's certainly the whole point of first read, second read.
Yeah.
Get feedback, find out the issues, change the language, make adjustments before a second read.
I have a few other minor points of clarity, but I can follow up with Tammy beyond this meeting. I'm really glad we're doing this, though. I've seen the need for this for years. Like, we need a policy, and I also think if we, as a district, provided a little bit more guidance to PTOs at times, I think that would go a long ways.
Correct.
Given that there's a high turnover of officers, there's always people coming in that have no idea, how to be a treasurer, how to run a meeting, all those things. You're learning on the fly, and it works, and there's a lot of amazing work happening in our PTOs and boosters in the community. But that guidance could go a long ways,
And our grade reconfiguration is going to significantly impact PTA, PTOs in the relatively near future.
Yeah, that'll change. And we'll have to figure out what to do with intermediate and middle. There's been some talk about, do we form a PTO at the middle school level? Yeah. All right.
So
That's all I have.
if the foundation is not part of 915, is there another policy that governs the foundation?
We'd have to research that.
Has there ever been a policy then?
I
Or
don't
did
think
they
there would
used to be part of 915?
When we started one in Littlestown, we just went through the bylaws and the approval of the bylaws and the organization to do the foundation work, and we agreed on what that was. We had someone from the school district sitting on that foundation board, and that's how it worked. So it was more through the bylaws and the agreement to create the foundation that governed it. I don't think there was any specific policy, but I say that from my experience. That doesn't mean there isn't a potential policy out there related to foundations. So that would be a new research or new work for us.
Okay. Any other? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have concerns about a paragraph entitled reporting process. And to me, that paragraph is fraught with peril, because let's take a PTO, for example. And at first, let me say, anybody that's on a PTO, PTA, they're volunteers more than likely. And I appreciate their work, and I'm sure they all are very honest, and the hierarchies happen. So what puzzles me is, you're asking for them to do a review, let's call it an audit. And they're supposed to have it, the end of the year, initiate the audit, but they don't have to produce it 12 weeks. That's like 3 months when the school term ends. Are the people that are even involved, are they there in 3 months? We're already into a new school year in 3 months, so they're already working on processes they used in the previous year that may be wrong. I don't know what the magic number is for the number, but 12 weeks for me is entirely too long to not be checking on these things. And I don't know who's actually, maybe it's Tammy, gonna, hey, where's your report? I don't have it yet, on and on and on. All summer long, they're not even in school anymore. So how do you do that? So I think that paragraph is kind of, needs to be relooked. And I don't know if the last paragraph there that's not numbered, I don't even know why it's in reporting process. It just doesn't seem to fit there. So that was my issue with that particular paragraph.
Well, yeah, I can talk to this a little bit. I mean, this did come up as a question in the PAG, specifically line 2, which is, conducted by a committee or a qualified accountant. And again, I think you need to have a review of the records annually to avoid some of the issues that Mr. Bigger was referencing before we got started. We really don't have control over the PTAs or the PTOs. They are independent organizations that are associated with the district. When there's a problem, they often look to the district to figure out what happened and do the investigation and all that. So I don't think that this is going to be something that we penalize somebody for if they don't get it to us the day that it's due, but it will help keep a check and balance in place, so to speak, so that they know there will be a review by the district annually. There'll be an expectation there. You know, I work in the world of, you know, accrual. So when Mr. Bigger comes to me and says, what's the fund balance as of July 1st? I said, well, you have to wait until September because we're doing accrual accounting. That's not the case with PTAs and PTOs. I think to give them a few weeks after the year wraps up is not a major issue. I don't have heartburn over that. The
We can do it
timeframe.
sooner.
Yeah, we can do it sooner. I was just trying to be generous with time.
Yeah, I thought that was overly generous, but I'm glad you're generous.
But we could do 6 weeks if that would make you happy. Pick a lower
I just throw it
number.
out there, it's a concern for me,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll vote.
I think the overarching message there with the reporting is that no one person does anything,
Right.
which is the root cause of the majority of the issues that do surface.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Other questions or discussions? Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor of policy 915 on first read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. Next, we need a motion on the 7 policies that we haven't voted on in section 10.04 first reading. Be policy 123.3, 140.1, 144, policy 210, policy 214, policy 224, and policy 322. Motion and second, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gogler, second by Mrs. Gauss. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. Section 10.05 includes 6 policies. Same question, administrative team or board members. Any of those policies that you would like to discuss or vote on separately? Okay, hearing none, asking for a motion and second for the policy, 6 policies listed under 10.05 on the second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Dr. Diller. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. 10.06, discussion only here tonight, special revenue fund and usage policy. Mr. Bigger.
Yeah, this was under information, I believe, last time that I need some guidance on this, on the intent of the fund, how it was set up, and how you want to see potential expenditures make their way to the school board. So I felt a little uncomfortable just saying, hey, this will work toward the special purpose fund. So I think it is an opportunity to go backwards in the past, find out why it was created, what the intent is, and then I can figure out how to bring expenditures that may fit the criteria. So the goal for tonight on this policy would to bring the board together a little bit on what type of expenditures. So as I read the intent or read, and Tammy and those that created it can clarify for me, I see extracurricular and athletic as the 2 areas. What I don't know is supplement, supplant. So, and if you understand those terms, supplement is adding on to, supplanting is replacing something. So if for better lack of an example, goalposts need replaced, do we use a special purpose fund to replace something that already exists, or are we enhancing the existing program? It's very popular Title I language used. Supplement, supplant. So for me, I took away extracurricular and athletic, but I don't know if it's to replace something or to enhance. So I'm leaving my knowledge right there on the table. I know nothing more other than that. So I'm going to sit back and listen to those that created this fund and see if we can get some agreement here.
I mean, don't we want to replace first, and then if there's money left? That's kind of my initial response to what you're saying. The enhancements sound really nice, but if we can't take a, yeah, we have to be able to take care of what we already have.
So, I was just, I was watching as you scroll through that. There's actually two separate policies here. Special Purpose Fund is 618.1. It does not mention naming rights or commercial sponsorship agreement, which is item 7.02. So is there something in 7.02.1 that then goes back to 618?
I can answer that, Mr. Norcross. So when we had to set up a special revenue fund, we had to go to the state of Pennsylvania and get permission to establish that. There are other funds that operate the same way as the special revenue fund that we use for the sponsorships. So if you look at policy, 618.1, you'll see that we have the student store there, the food service fund. They're different types of fund than the general fund. So that's why both policies were included in this item. The policy I think that Mr. Bigger's asking for direction for relates more to 702.1.
Can you scroll back to that
But it's
highlighted section that was up there a couple minutes ago in 702.1?
That was trying to, Diana, that's you, the
There we
dark
go,
part.
right there. Oh, back down, Diane, please. Right there, yes, thank you.
But the special revenue fund is mentioned in 618.1.
Yes, because it's a separate type of a fund that we had to get established. Prior to doing that, we had the CAP reserve, we had the CAP
Right.
projects, we had food service.
So you're saying this paragraph in bold then is what gives us the authority to expend out of the naming rights dollars?
Yes.
Okay. Just a little bit of history, just to tag up on, or follow up on Mr. Bigger's comments. A prior superintendent was very reluctant to initiate this. And I won't go into those details, and I won't get too specific. But anyway, I was diligent enough to convince him to change his mind. But anyway, so when we did this, it was at the time when we were doing a resurfacing project at the track. And Chris and I's conversation a couple weeks ago, that was sort of the thought. There's not anything in writing, and it was intended not to be in writing, but that was a great example at the time because we were looking at, I can't remember if it was the track or the turf.
It was the, I think it was the track.
Okay, one of those two. I can't remember which one.
Whatever's expensive.
They're both expensive.
But anyway, it was a large ticket item that was coming out of, what I'll call regular district funds, capital reserve fund, more than likely.
Yes.
So this was a way to create not only another funding stream, but then also then an expenditure. So when it came time to do projects similar to that, whether they're larger or smaller in scale, then this would be a way to supplement what normally was just all capital reserve expenditures.
I would compare it to the old-time Christmas club that people would put a couple dollars in for Christmas versus their savings account. And I think that mixing the two concepts is not a good idea. I think that keeping that special, whatever it's called, special reserve fund specifically for big projects rather than nickel and diming it is the better way to go. Because if we start to use that money for this little pet project and that little pet project, when we have that turf or track or big expense, there's not gonna be much left, because we're gonna have bought our Christmas presents with the money that we should have been saving for our house, comparing the olden days Christmas club accounts.
I remember that.
Many of you don't know about Christmas club accounts.
Oh, we do.
It's a
We do. We do. I do.
Then you get your stuff out of the layaway, right?
Yeah, right.
You're so right.
Use green stamps.
I'm not sure if my comparison
Yes,
is
baby.
appropriate or not, but.
And the green stamps.
Well, the other component that surfaced with this is you have folks paying for advertising, and it is nice to go back and say, here's what those advertising or sponsorship dollars bought. And when they see the money being spent on something, then they're more likely to continue to sponsor or advertise or naming rights. So that's, having it just sit there is generally not always a good idea unless there's a purpose for it. So I'm learning what this purpose may be. The impetus that created the purpose was the scoreboard. There's an interest in a new scoreboard. And so that's what started down this path. And we put the brakes on and said, okay, if we're going to use the special revenue fund, then I need to get clarity from the board that that's an example of something to replace. But as you can see, there's how much money in that fund?
There's about 315,000.
Right. So I would want you to select something for us to focus on versus just a random project that shows up on my desk.
Could you, not you on your own, but collectively as an administration, come up with a list of a number of different ideas, and then
We're great with lists.
well, but
We're
then,
educators.
But then, you know, right now we're talking about one or two ideas that people have mentioned, and I think Mike had mentioned playgrounds when he first started about this last time. So we have 3 ideas on the table, but I would like to see a dozen, and then if we have a discussion around that, it might bring some clarity for some of us. Like, I'm hearing good ideas around the table, but that doesn't really help get you the answer that you need.
Right.
And so I think if you came back with 10 ideas or 50 ideas and we weed through those a little bit more, it might bring some clarity. That's my own.
And that's the Christmas gift concept versus the saving for your house.
But even that, like, what's the house then? You know, is this a fund that we're only going to use for
Major.
turf? You know, or can we use it for
Well,
gym or weight room, or is it
need
just a high
versus
school
want?
fund?
You guys have identified my problem really well.
It is not limited to the high school.
So what are some good projects we could use it for at the elementary level, at the middle school level? We haven't talked about any of those. So, yeah, I think we ought to think through.
But we have to remember that the high school, for instance, stadium is not just used for high school events. It's used for youth events,
right.
et cetera. So,
I like Mr. Raber's thought about maybe a little bit of a cafeteria style plan, you know, or, you know, as children, we would go through the Sears and Roebuck catalog and we'd pick out what we wanted Santa Claus to bring us, to give Santa Claus our Christmas list, right? So this is like the Sears and Roebuck catalog, and whoever thought that Amazon would replace Sears and Roebuck. But anyway.
This fund was started in what year? 2017. And how much has been pulled from that?
Very little.
Yeah,
I mean, so we could potentially project, you know, if you spend nothing in 5 years, we could potentially project what might be in the fund at that point as well.
If I can recall, Mr. Raber, when we updated the sound system in the gymnasium, Mr. Leonard was on the board, and I believe we split that expense between cap reserve and the special revenue fund, but I can't recall how much it was. But other than that,
right. I do remember.
yeah, I don't think that we've done any expenditures out of it, other than to get the signs up and those things, which, yeah.
Nor have we looked at our price structure. which is well overdue, you know. Naming rights is the only thing that hasn't increased in price in the past decade, I guess. I don't know. But,
And how aggressively we have put forward the naming rights and the whole
Right.
process of.
To Chris's point, though, if we want to be more aggressive about recruiting, let's have some things that, hey, here's what we've done with it.
Right.
I think you're onto something there.
yeah,
too.
I like the list idea, and I will add this on it. And I'm not a fan of the scoreboard for this fund. And one of the reasons, and I have to be a little bit, speaking code here a little bit, but recently the board had a discussion about an expenditure on an educational program to facilitate an educational component of the district. And because of our current building projects, we say, you know, we wouldn't mind doing that, but we would like someone else to fund it.
Sure.
That's sort of where I fall on the scoreboard. This project we recently talked about, I said, no, we're not using district money. We think someone else should fund it. When it comes to the scoreboard, I think Boosters or Foundation could fund that for us. That's my thoughts. Use the same litmus test that we used.
For some that's educational. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're not willing to use district funds for something that's educational, I believe in athletics. Like, I think it's really important in our district, but I think you're making a good
It
point.
outlines the curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular. That's the guidance right now. We would create a list around the bold. Because that's what it says. So it's gonna be co or extra.
Yeah, and that's what was approved by the
state.
state, that this fund can be utilized for.
So we are limited in how much we can even change this policy without going back to the state? Is that?
You're not limited in what you can change in the policy. You're limited by changing the nature of the fund. It's just like the capital reserve. Like, I can't use those funds for non-capital projects. That's what's defined in it by the state.
Would you be able to maybe put certain, if there are all these projects, you know, you say you got the little cafeteria style, could you put in the language of, okay, it's this amount, you can only use X amount within that, out of the thing, to make sure that we don't spend the Christmas money on the house or the vice versa or whatever?
I mean, I think you.
Yeah.
It must have, oh, there it is. I think you could put that in an AR, you know, an administrative regulation. I think that you certainly could do something like that. I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay, you were helpful in me creating a list. I'm good. I like it. I like it.
A very good
Thank you.
discussion.
No, it was very helpful for me. I needed your input on
Starting
how
point.
to move forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, item 12, new business, board members. Yep, he's next.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Now, I'm gonna preface this. It's 5 minutes till 10, Almer, but I hear you might have something for new business, so let's go.
Get the microphone then.
Okay. So basically, I'm trying to put together like a survey for the student body, because I wanna hear what they think, so I can provide like a better voice for the school board. So I wanted to hear some of the things that you guys want to hear from the students about, that I can put in the survey, send out. So it's just not my opinion.
Yeah, I have a couple items that might elicit some response, for sure. One is
Hold
cell
on, just
phone.
Before, and parking lot for maybe 2 minutes or so. As we get into any specifics, I'm just curious the board's thoughts on, let's look at this from a 50,000-foot view before we start looking at a closer view. You know, a district admin or a board survey versus a student survey? Thoughts, discussions, comments, any differentiation there?
We want to put, maybe some blank stipulations because just his presence here, we put guidelines in it to make sure that it's, you know what I mean? Could we maybe put that on the survey to know that this is not an official administrative type deal, so we don't get in the weeds where people, or even the students, we don't want to send a false hope or a certain thing like, well, hey, we said this is what we want, and then we don't necessarily deliver on that because there was maybe a thought process of, hey, we've got control over this or what have you, just.
Other thoughts, questions? I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Haydick.
I think it definitely needs to be a positive, not a negatively worded survey. I have seen surveys that elicit negativity. Other surveys elicit positivity. Also, complaints versus solutions are a different animal. Many times surveys or questions prompt complaints rather than solutions. And so I think that when whomever works with Amir to assist with his survey, those kinds of directions need to be provided, and he may come up with them very independently because I'm sure he's a very positive person, but I'm just concerned that sometimes we like to have a wish list, but we don't want to roll up our sleeves and start to work on that wish list ourselves. We just wish it for somebody to do for us.
Yep, and some of the things that I was talking about were like school culture and, well, I think cell phones obviously, and then block scheduling, so, yeah.
Well, and to that point, and I am going to get back to you, Mr. Haydick, I promise, okay? But, right, the admin, and we've done it before as a district, we've done studies, surveys before. The admin can present one or come up with one, the board can come up with one. And all voices should be heard, okay? Need to be heard. To Mrs. Gogler's point, you know, there's a bit of a fine line there. And to Mr. Walker's point, you know, what's an official survey versus what's a student body only survey? Should this process not be flipped, whereas Amir and the student body present ideas to the board? Hey, have you considered doing a study that would address these ideas? And then we formulate the study survey around specific policies or specific goals. I don't know, should it be, instead of the board saying, hey, we'd like you to go do a survey on this, should the survey request be coming to the board or the administration and then we filter through them? Again, that's my thought on a 50,000 foot level. Mr. Haydick, I said I was coming back to you.
Well, I like that idea, but I want to make a distinction between the policy that we, the board, create and approve, and then secondly, how that policy is implemented, and then what are the enforcement mechanisms to make sure that the policy is complied with. And the two pet rocks, admittedly, that I have, one has always been cell phone usage, and I'm sure there are a lot of students that are going to be very vocal. I got to have my cell phone. There's probably a lot of other students that would say, not for me, not really. The same thing goes for my new pet rock. is there's a dress code. And maybe some people think I should be able to wear whatever I want, and maybe other students say, you know, you can do that when you're not in school, but in school you should not be wearing that stuff, those things, those kinds of clothes. So I'd be happy to hear what the entire student body feels, not just several very, very vocal people expressing we gotta have our cell phones, we gotta wear what we want. So that's my suggestion, but maybe it doesn't work with what you have in mind, Amar.
No, I was gonna scale it to make it fit everyone, so that shouldn't be an issue. And I can share it with all of you before I send it out, if that's fine.
I'd like to piggyback off of Ms. Gogler's thing. I think the positive, I wouldn't necessarily want to shut down the negative, because I think that there's a lot to be learned and understood from that. But maybe, okay, here's the challenge in the survey, just making a suggestion. Here's the challenge. Well, what's your solution? So that way we're actually causing our students to be solution oriented. Yeah, this is here, this is messed up, but what can I do about it? Or what's, you know, so that way you're not just coming with a complaint, now let's be, you know, a little proactive in fixing that complaint. Maybe hearing some of the students' solutions to some of the issues rather than just complaints.
I just want to check my understanding. You're going to do a survey that is just looking at student culture, things that they are concerned about or whatever the case might be, but you're doing it from your perspective, like you're one student sending it out to others, because it's not coming necessarily from the board, and then you're going to report back to us. So you're just doing like a fact finding and then sharing that information with us. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And are you, when you do that, I'm just curious, how are you going to try to get maximum outreach and maximum responses? Do you have a plan, like a QR code or however it is? Because clearly you're probably a lot more tech savvy than a lot of us here. And I think for me, the responses, people are talking about board and administration. I think as a student, I would have been like, oh yeah, my buddy wants me to take this QR code survey. Okay, as opposed to admin or you getting something in an email that's more of an official capacity. I think that's a smart way to go about things if you're on a fact-finding mission, just to kind of gauge where everybody's at. So I'm just curious, if you planned it out, like what's your plan to get as much interaction as possible and responses?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have it be sent out to the entire student body, like through email. But not a lot of people also check their email, so I'm gonna have like posters for QR codes, and then they can scan and yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, obviously we're not gonna get some people to do the survey.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, even most surveys, you're lucky if you get what, 10, 15%.
Yeah.
And that's so. I mean, that would be a good response. I think if you market it the right way, which it sounds like you have a good idea, then hopefully you'll be able to bump that up and get a pretty good representative of what you're looking for. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I think between the high school principal and Mrs. Luffy, they'll be able to help vet the questions. I mean, they do student surveys all the time without board, just to influence the culture of student government and clubs. So it's not atypical for students to do surveys. I think, was just the premise is, what topics would you like me to ask about? So we're giving him a couple topics to ask about, which would be helpful.
I'd love to hear, what are students' favorite classes? What's the best class you've had in high school so far? What's your favorite lunch? I don't know if you want to limit it to only school stuff, but I would love to know, what are kids' favorite sports? Who's their favorite musician?
Is school too hard, too easy?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, just some get to know you. A little more generic, I think, is even helpful for us as a board, at least. I don't know, you know, is this mainly for the board or where all you'll be releasing the results? But like, that would be interesting to me, to just even have beyond school, like, hey, what are you devoting your time to? What are the things you're passionate about?
And I'm gonna try to include some of that, but I don't want to make it too long.
Right.
For participation's sake.
Yep.
I like the thought of, I'll call it the lighter side of items. When we're delving into the realm of some other issues, whether that be cell phones, block schedules, right? That is not just, that is policy, and that's not just one part of Chambersburg School District, i.e. student. That needs to be more, a survey done on more of a global basis, including community, including parents, including staff, not just students. Your suggestions, Mr. Aber, I love them. I think they're perfect student suggestions. Cell phone, block schedule, okay. Maybe the board does that and you check the box before you do it. Are you a student, are you a parent, are you a staff member? And then we can filter the data and the results accordingly. I just, if we're gonna get into big items,
I think we just need to remember that it's a student survey, not a board survey.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
So,
Informative for the board, but not required to be actionable.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like you're getting the pulse. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Okay, informational items are listed there. Reports. LIU and/or Franklin Learning and/or Franklin County Career Tech. Any reports? Any items you wish to share with the group?
For LIU, you guys met Dr. Marchese. Just a very short snippet of how he got here. He came in and we were interviewing several people, and at the risk of it sounding how it's going to sound, it was instantaneous. He blew it out of the water. He came in with a plan, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever been in my life, where you just knew that this was the person, and there was absolutely no doubt about it. And it really made our job easy, and that was great. He's been doing a lot of things out there, shaking it up, doing a lot of things that I think are going to benefit the IU, looking at different revenue streams with the new consistency as far as pricing. I always joke with him that he's the second. I said he's Chris Bigger 2.0.
Nice.
Because
We're both Chris.
just the way that he's very transparent, and he just says the thing and he tells you what's going on, and he gives a lot of information. So you guys got to meet him in a limited capacity, but he's a really great guy. If you have questions, you can reach out to him directly, I'm sure, if you don't want to go through me, and he would answer those for you. The one thing I will say is that since the IU is like doing the learning center, Mike, you have the thing, I'll let you say it. I was gonna tell you about the FLC holiday program, but Mike has the flyer, so I will let him have that for his portion.
Well, thank you very
You're
much.
quite welcome.
So, two awesome events of the year. One is graduation at the Franklin Learning Center. It's incredible. And the other is the festive Christmas remix extravaganza on Wednesday, the 17th of December, and on Thursday, the 18th of December at 12:30. Get there early if you want to find a decent place to park. It'll be packed, but it is one of the most entertaining and most heartwarming things all in one gathering. It's incredible. So I would say if you're not doing anything in particular, check that out. Thank you.
As far as the
Other reports?
Career Center is concerned, the applications are through the roof for year-to-year comparisons of October of last year to this year. There's an amazing increase, not just in the Chambersburg applications, but other districts, reflecting the demand for career opportunities. I don't know whether it's gonna continue, maybe people are just applying earlier and maybe it'll level off, but it's just unbelievable the number of applicants.
Okay, and one other item, Mr. Walker, you're going to get the final say tonight, and I'm going to
Last meeting.
I'm going to show you how your last event is going to be me mentioning my mistake. And there is also a certificate here that is suitable for framing that I forgot to give you. I had my eyes on the big Christmas gift, the blanket, and I forgot the certificate here for Honor Roll School Board of Service, presented to Mr. Lance Walker from Pennsylvania School Board Association.
All right.
You get the mic.
Man, it's been a wonderful ride. Came in the middle of COVID. Was like, what in the world am I doing? And then I had nerve to, after that year, throw my hat back in the ring because my wife was like, sure, go, you can do it. But it was, I tell you what, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to serve on the board and to be, for the public to entrust me to do such. And I wish all of y'all the best. And Mr. Bigger, I'm very grateful for what you've done. And I don't, hopefully this is not a line, but I remember when you said, I hope to win you over. And I just wanted to,
Give me a chance, yeah.
yes. And honestly, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate everything because everybody's aware that, the turmoil that this district has been in, for the past several years before you got here. And so it has been a breath of fresh air to have you at the helm and running anything. So I thank you for that and getting this district on.
Team of 10, thank you.
Yes, yeah. So with that, once again, thank you all. It's been a pleasure serving with you all, and I'll see y'all out there in the public, and if you're in any of the events that we're attending and going on, whether that's Meals on Wheels, you need a haircut, you feel free. Matter of fact, no, don't even have to come. I'm overrun. Stop in. Stop in and get a cup of coffee. I'm that blessed, but stop in and get a cup of coffee, say hello, and sit down and chat with me.
And bring him donuts or cookies. He's always
I
grateful for
accept
that.
donuts and cookies as payment. Yeah.
Thanks, Lance.
But thank you all. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.